All right, friends. Okay, friends. Let's go ahead and have us a stream. What do you say? Welcome to the party. If you were tuning in after the fact, we're going to get started here in a couple of seconds talking about why you are broke. And the answer to that may surprise you. The title here is essentially along the lines of why you'll always be broke if you don't change. Uh, the principles that we're going to talk about tonight, a lot of behavioral habits. We're going to talk about behavioral habits. We're going to talk about habits of the mind. We'll probably spend very little time talking about how to find a better job because that's usually not your problem. And the problem is also not exactly tied, at least at its foundational level. And this is coming from a person who's been broke. Like, I remember there was a time in my life where I actually had to, and I was making money, by the way. I had a really good job. Um, as an officer in the military, and I had to borrow money from my brother to pay my rent because I had mismanaged my money. The reason why I was mismanaging my money had deeper roots. All right, so we're going to talk about a little bit of that tonight. Let's see who's on the stream. Did I do this thing again where it's private instead of public? I bet you I did. Of course, YouTube defaulted to that. Let's do that. Actually publish this stupid video. But for those of you watching it after the fact, you'll get to see that part. For those of you tuning in live, you won't, which is all to the better because you don't get to see me fumbling over myself. Now then, let's wait for everybody to get here, and then we'll get started. And we'll know everybody's here as they start to chime in. And you may hear a 3-year-old losing his mind because that's the type of household I live in. Find out what's going on here. Hey, why are you screaming? No. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Why are you screaming? What is the problem? Is she in there? So this is my life, by the way. Okay, well, leave her alone. Go back downstairs with your brothers and stop throwing hissy fits. And stop running. I got it. Thank you. This is life as a dad who runs operations out of his house. We're actually in the process of procuring a new home here, hopefully in the not too distant future, and I will have an office that is separate from my house for that exact reason. All right, let's give everybody a chance to tune in, and then we're going to get busy. We're going to get busy, believe you me. Let's make sure the stream is actually live this time. Hopefully. Okay, yeah. See, well, no, it still says it's on. Okay, so we're good to go now. All right, hopefully everybody's here. If you're here, chime in. Let me know you're here. Um, I don't want to. I know everything I'm going to talk about tonight, so I don't want to say it to myself. So if you're here, leave me a comment. Let me know you're here. I'll shout you out, and then we'll get right into what we're going to talk about tonight. Got some flashcards. There's a reason why I've got flashcards. It's something I'm going to share with you that's going to be very helpful. Got some books over here that are definitely going to be helpful, but a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight centers on issues and habits of the mind. Okay, it's not about your education level. It's not about going to college. It's not about what your grade point average was. It's not about what you studied in school or maybe didn't study in school. It's not about any of that stuff. All right. I really want to help you understand the foundation of starting to, and everything I'm going to share with you tonight, too, is not just tied. I mean, even though we're talking about money, this is tied to the quality of life all the way around. Okay, I mean, you can even apply some of what we're going to talk about to your physical health. At least the principles we're going to talk about uh, very much will be helpful in those regards. All right, let's see who all's here. Keep clicking on the wrong thing. Let me refresh this. And so hopefully you guys and ladies are okay with me doing this picture in a picture thing, simply because you don't need to see my beautiful face as much as you need to see the information that I'm sharing with you here. And you can see what I have on screen is the 10 principles of economics. Right now, I have taken that from one of the things I want to share with you all tonight. is The Principles of Economics, this textbook by Gregory Mankiw. You'd be surprised by how effective textbooks are. The problem is we fear textbooks. What's going on, young IGG, man? Appreciate the shout out on Instagram today, man. Much love for that. We see textbooks, we get kind of like, oh man, I don't want to read a textbook because you had textbooks in school where your education system, depending on where you're from, has a huge teaching disability. And it manifests, and we call them learning disabilities in the people who are learning when it's not the problem. We have a teaching disability, and I don't mean we have teachers who are incapable. In fact, most teachers that I know, in fact, I'm married to a lady who's a former teacher, are very good, in fact, excellent at what they do. The challenge is they're part of a system that was not built hundreds of years ago to prepare people for the reality that we're living in today. And because these education systems are run by government bureaucracies, and this isn't conspiracy theory, this is just reality of human existence, right? Because these education systems are run by government bureaucracies, they're even slower to change than large corporations, right? Very, very slow to change and adapt to the times and understand that, we stopped preparing people to work in factories. I mean, even though people still work in factories, the bulk of people don't necessarily work in factories unless now they're probably working with machinery in the factories versus having to prepare. You had to teach people. And in fact, if you go back long enough, our school system wasn't even originally erected to prepare people for factories because there were no factories in the 1700s, right? Not these industrial factories that we had coming into the 1900s. But they were actually preparing soldiers. They were indoctrinating kids with patriotic's not the right word, like nationalism, like having pride in your state, pride in your, and by state I don't mean like Arkansas, I mean state, the state, your country where you live. We're going to indoctrinate kids, brainwash them, call it what you want. People don't like the word brainwash because it sounds negative, but it doesn't have to be. You can brainwash yourself to do great stuff, right? Brainwash these kids with these values of the nation, the state that they live in, and then prepare them to follow orders and be soldiers. Well, that evolved into the 1800s, 1900s too. It translated very well from raising very obedient, non-critically thinking people, worked really well as soldiers, right? And they also work, which I'd argue soldiers are some of the best critical thinkers on the planet, especially ones that have been in combat, because you have to think critically to survive. But the system was designed to create obedience, right? And then that translated very well to factory work. It doesn't translate well to where now a lot of people are required to do what's called skill work, right? For lack of a better term. Not to say the people that work in factories are not skilled. In fact, they're way more skilled than some of us. All right, let's see. We've got Taj Marie, who's someone I have not seen or heard from in a long time. It's good to see you. Hello. How's it going? I will try to stay up, but I can't stay up for more than an hour. I respect that. This will be uploaded after the fact. You can watch it. If I go long, you can watch it. It'll be there for your viewing pleasure when you are awake. Young IGG says, man, thank you. I've learned so much from your videos. I appreciate that, man. That's the goal. And what I really, really appreciate about you, dude, is that you took what you learned from me, which is what I learned from Charlie Munger and all these other real smart people, and then you immediately took it to your people and was like, yo, this is what you all need to be thinking about it. Like, I love that, man. That's what this quote unquote Bryant Chambers movement is all about. It's taking the knowledge, like I'd call it the story of Prometheus, right? Where he took the knowledge of the gods and he brought it down to the people. And that's kind of how as narcissistic as that sounds, like I'm Prometheus, but in fact, my personality temperament, according to Carl Jung, is often called Prometheus, right? It's taking the knowledge of these titans, these giants of our history, and then passing it on to the people of the present. And I really appreciate that you took time out to do that. What I'm going to share with you tonight is going to be really powerful. So I really encourage that. Taj Marie says, schools were developed to indoctrinate children to be obedient workers, not to learn to think critically. 100%. And if you take it back to, I think it was, what was it, Constantine in the 1700s, it wasn't even workers. They were raising soldiers, right? But the format didn't change much and hasn't changed as much as it should have. Now, I say that full well knowing that I am spoiled and that I'm raising my kids in one of the best school systems in the United States of America. right? So my kids get a leg up probably on the rest of the nation because we just are where we live has a lot of money, and school costs a lot. In fact, if you look at the county where I live, public schools is the biggest expense that the county has, right? The biggest, a lot of you that play video games, right? You play online video games. The biggest source of revenue we have is the servers that you're all playing on, right? The biggest expense we have is the schools, right? It's a huge, and that's why when the schools are controlled by a government bureaucracy, and I don't know that I would change that necessarily. It's just slow to change and adapt. And that's a huge part of the reason why I do what I do, because I believe this is the future of education. It's all of us sharing information with each other and making each other stronger, kind of this peer education versus you get, the Socratic method where you pile into a room and the teacher tells you a bunch of stuff and then you memorize it, regurgitate it on a test, and then forget it for the rest of your life. No, it's this kind of peer education where as we're learning and growing and as I get experience, oftentimes I rarely will teach on something. I'll share things, but I'll rarely, if ever, teach on something that I haven't had a ton of experience with, right? So you see very little content from me, for example, teaching people on the marketing side of the house how to use Instagram, because Instagram was relatively new to me. And now I know we've built it to, I think, without any bots, without any follow, unfollow BS that people love to do so much, we've still been able to build it to 1,000 followers, especially making the type of content that we make, which is very much heavy on education, very low on entertainment. I don't have any shots of women in yoga pants doing squats, the stuff that, does, I don't ever take my shirt off and bench press. Maybe one day I should, right? So the things that typically get people's attention, we don't do, and we still manage to amass 1,000 followers. But I didn't do, like, even in my marketing program, I didn't teach on Instagram because I hadn't spent enough time on it. I felt, even though, I've been doing the social media thing since the 90s, before it was called social media. So I understand the principles, but I didn't want to talk about it until I'd had enough experience with it. And it's the same thing here. A lot of these things that I'm talking to you all about, I've got, in some cases, over 20 years experience dealing with it. So this idea of making more money, right? The reason why you're not making more money or you're not making the amount of money you want to make, we're led to believe, and I can't tell you how many people I've spoken with will tell me, oh, do I need to go back to school? Do I need to learn more in order to earn more money in an education system? Well, ha- half of the answer to that question is yes, you need to learn more, but you don't need to amass $100,000 to $250,000 more of debt just to get a job that's going to require you to work for 30 years just to pay that debt off. That doesn't make any sense, right? Certainly, you do need more knowledge. Charlie Munger says the more you learn, the more you earn, or it may have been Warren Buffett that said that. But the point is, certainly you do need to learn more, but paying an institution hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn it is not necessary when most of that content, including so much of what I do on the YouTube space, and just give it time, it's going to catch on eventually, right? I listened to Jordan Peterson talk about this, and it was very encouraging. He talked about when he got started on YouTube in 2013, nobody was paying attention to lectures like these 3-hour lectures about God or these 3-hour lectures about psychology and Carl Jung and personality. Nobody was watching that in 2013, right? He said it was all cute cat videos and stuff, and it was kids who were really dominating the platform starting in 2012 and then beyond. Then he noticed as it moved into 2015 and 2017 when he was saying this, he was like, then all of a sudden my lectures started to blow up, and it's because people had exhausted the cat videos and now they were curious. They were looking for answers to life's problems, and Jordan Peterson had them. So give what I'm doing time, and eventually it's going to catch on and people are going to start watching it. But for now, it just takes time. It takes time to do that. And because the things that I'm talking about are not immediately entertaining, they're engaging because I'm an engaging personality, but it's not necessarily fun to watch unless you're genetically wired like me. Like I actually, as stupid as this sounds, right? Whoa, I hate this chair. I actually have fun reading a book that you can't even see the title of, right? Because I'm learning something I didn't know before, and it's shooting dopamine through my brain, right? So version of fun is very different from someone who may be wired differently than me that needs those things. But the point here is yes, you do need to learn more in order to earn more. And that's part of the reason why you may find yourself stuck in a rut, right? But it's not, oh, I need to go get, because I know people, I know a woman right now with 3 degrees, and I think 2 of them are master's degrees. And I think she's like delivering pizzas or something like that. And it has nothing to do with her knowledge or skills. It has everything to do with what's going on between her ears. And that's what we're going to attack tonight, is helping you deal with the habits of the mind that are keeping you from what you actually deserve. So there's an exercise that I take people through in my coaching program. I'll take you through it here tonight as well. It's very quick. If you're on your phone, you probably can't do it on your phone without closing YouTube. But if you're at a computer, or you can just do it in your head, you can get a round number, right? There's an exercise I give people that says, take your yearly salary, right? And I'll even do it. Well, I guess I don't really have a yearly salary. When you run your own operation, it's a little bit different. But you take your yearly salary and you divide that by 365, right? And let's say you're the budget manager. You're a budget manager at Amazon or Microsoft, right? So you're making, I don't know what people that do that make. I've worked in places where that person makes 6 figures. I've worked in places where that person makes high 5 figures. Let's just say it's a flat $100,000 a year. So you take that $100,000 a year and you divide it by 365, and what that shows you is how much money you make every day. And it's frustrating because then if you're from where I'm from, that money, the people making 6 figures have to have roommates where I live, right? I live in, I think, the most expensive living economy. Like, we compete with like Hawaii and San Diego, and I think it's more to live here, right? So take that with keep that in mind. But what you start to find out is, man, the amount of, because $100,000 sounds like a ton of money when you look at it, when you just hear that number. But when you split it up over a year and you realize how much you're making a day, and by the way, that doesn't take into account taxes because you're actually making less than that, right? When you look at how much you're making per day, it's where I'm from, homeless people could make $100,000 a year just on the street. If they begged 8 hours a day, they could make $100,000 a year. It's not in the realm of impossible if they're good at hustling, right? So I have people go through that exercise to frustrate you, because if you're not making $100,000, let's say you're making $40,000, it's even more frustrating for you to see that, because you're like, I'm trading, like, you may be trading 8 to 9 hours a day working at a place for that $40,000, and you have student loans or whatever it is, and it's like, yo, you're getting paid, what, if it's $40,000, let's do the math. Let's say you make 40 G's, right? Divided by 365. Right, you're making about $110 a day. You could easily go out on the street and beg and make $100 a day. So it starts to show you you're trading 9 hours of your life every single day just to make $100. You know what I mean? And you start to say, oh, it's not really worth it. So that immediately, the reason why I take people on that exercise is it immediately starts to make them think through, maybe there's a more efficient, effective way for me to earn income that doesn't eat up as much of my time, and I can make more money, have more freedom, things like that. It was, why I started a business 15 years ago, was I saw the writing on the wall when I was in college. Like, yeah, this ain't gonna work, right? It's just not sustainable, right? So let's see. Eurolamb says, the only consistent thing I've learned in all my years of working and applying for jobs and being entrepreneurial is that without skills, you won't get anywhere, and you can't fake it. Eurolamp says, there's never been a better time to be an autodidactic. Yeah. We are living in a great time of information on the internet. We should all be very positive about the times we're living in. Yeah, 100%. The challenge is we need more wisdom. There's a lot of information, but the ability to think critically and use the information effectively. It's like when people say knowledge is power. No, it's not. Applied knowledge towards a definite end is power, right? And that's what I try to help people understand. Pookie Pie says, I used to care about this stuff as I am an INFP, but please listen to me. Look up Rapture 2019 on YouTube, okay? Figure out how to get saved. The rapture is at hand. Well, if the rapture is in 2019, rest assured, I am squared away. All right, I'll leave the for everyone else. That's between them and God. But the and I don't know how you being an INFP had anything to do about that, but that's fine. Uh, Bottom line is Euroland brings up a good point. Part of the issue is having skills, right? Um, and the skills come from the knowledge that we're talking about. But let me ask you guys a question, right? So if you've been stuck in a rut or you're not making what you want to make, and I want you to actually answer this in the comments. How many books in the last year, I'll give you a year, how many books about money, about economics, about how to make money, about how money works, how many books have you read in the last year? And I'll give you all a second to answer that question before we get into some of the specifics, some of the tactics I want to talk with you all about, some of the things I want you to be able to understand, and why this book is going to be so important. In fact, if you don't, I think I put a link to where you can get this book on Amazon. Um, I linked to the most current edition, which is like $100 and some odd. Uh, this is 2 editions old, so this is cheaper if you want to buy that edition. I really wouldn't sweat the edition stuff. Usually, what gets added is not usually catastrophically different. But yeah, tell me in the comments, how many books in the last year have you read about how to make more money, right? And the reason why I asked that question is if you are broke and you're frustrated about being broke and you're not taking any action proactively to at least try to resolve that situation, well, I can tell you it's people use that cliche, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same things over and over again and expecting different results. Right? And it's just not possible. Like if you're not doing anything, like Eurolamp said, to better yourself, to develop skills, or at the very least, to develop knowledge that can be useful to somebody, um, it's that's going to be a problem. So Gene Lee says zero with a sad face. First of all, let me thank you, Gene Lee, for being honest, for being transparent. Pat yourself on the back for that, because that's huge, right? The fact you can honestly come on here and that you could have just not typed anything, but the fact that you typed it shows me that you're at a place where you've had enough of where you're at and you want to move forward, right? Because you're willing to be honest and transparent. So you deserve a high five for that. Give yourself one. Mr. Isaac says only 2. Hey, 2 is greater than 0, right? Young IGG. If you include marketing, probably like 10 or 11, if not 4 or 5. Shadavia Bryan says, hello, I read 2 books. Jimmy Reagan, excuse me, says 0. Okay, so, and I'm asking the question not to pick on you guys, just to show you that, oh, I want to change something, but I'm not really doing anything about it, right? I'm wishing, I'm hoping things change, but I'm not actively engaged. I haven't made up in my mind that the circumstances I have must change. And until you get to a place of my circumstances must change, usually your circumstances don't change. And so what I want to share with you tonight, you can see it on screen here, so I will scroll through it while I'm going through it. I actually made these flashcards, and I have a ton more flashcards from this book. And that's something that I really recommend you guys and ladies do, is read these books, these textbooks. Don't be afraid of them. They're boring when you learn it in school, but when you learn it on your own, you can learn it at your own pace, and you can actually think about, how would I apply this to real life, right? And if you don't have at least a just base level 5th grade understanding of how economics works, that's part of the problem with earning more money, because you don't understand it. And these are human issues, guys. These aren't money or business issues. What I'm about to show you on these flashcards is a human issue, and I'm going to show it to you here on the screen as well, which is why I always put the picture in the picture, because what's on screen is way more valuable than my face. Eurolam says there's knowledge and then there's wisdom, which seems to come from failing and succeeding, trial and error. Example of wisdom to me would be something like knowing when to execute, when not to. And the beautiful thing with wisdom is you can learn it from other people. You know, I talk about my business mentor a lot. He has been grooming me for, my business is at a place now where it's starting to grow. And like I just met with my accountant yesterday, and he's like, dude, you're going to have to change the structure of your business probably in the next year as you continue to grow. And I said, that's cool. He's like, because it's going to give you more flexibility. It's going to give you more tax sheltering so that, Uncle Sam's not taking all your money from your business. And I said, okay, that's cool. And so he prepares me, he mentors me, right? You know, this is a guy who I pay to help me, but he mentors me because I don't know accounting and tax law like he does. He's a freaking mastermind expert. My business mentor also, he's been prepping me for when the business starts to grow in terms of personnel, like when we bring more people in. And he started prepping me for, he's like, when I had a business and we had about 100 people, I started running into these challenges. And this was at a cookout. And he was just walking me through. Here is how I handled it. Here is the method. He even had a name for the method for how he used um, resolving conflict, right? So I don't need to go through the failures he went through to get the wisdom. He already went through them, and now he can. And like I talk about buying this farm and having sustainable food and solar power, and we're going to build our part of our training facility for when we do these live coaching seminars in real life. When I'm not traveling, we're going to have next year I'll be traveling around the world, doing seminars, coaching like this, but in real life, right? And getting like really deep into how to help people with freelancing and entrepreneurship in ways that I can't do on a YouTube video, right? Um, but we're going to also have a training facility in a couple of years on my property, and that's going to be for like the VIPs of that program that we fly out people, kind of like a mastermind group where we help these folks more directly and more frequently. Um, and when I was walking him through how I was going to build that, we were on a trip. We take a trip every year together, and we were driving back, and he started walking me through the flaws in my plan, and he just started shooting holes. Like, no, dude, don't do that. Like, not from the beginning. He's like, do this first, and somehow he had experience. Like, he's like the Forrest Gump of business. He's done everything except maybe like own an NFL team, right? And he's done everything, and he's able to walk me through all these problems that I would have. In his first mentorship, when I really, really started to go to him to be my mentor, I had an idea for a product that I wanted to create, a tech product to help me with podcasting. And I ran it by him, and he's like, nope, the minute you get that off the ground, because you're not going to be funded, Microsoft's going to steal it and just make it better. And then Microsoft bought Skype that same year or the next year, and then Zoom came out, and then Zoom did exactly what I was going to do, and I'd have been screwed, right? So he saved me lots of man hours and lots of money. All right, so let's talk about just a basic understanding of economic principles, right? And there's 10 of them, and then there's something I wanted to share at the end here. Yeah, the key to economic success, right? And that's going to be part of the key here. Right, so I just make these flashcards so I can memorize this, right? And even though I'm kind of like Einstein, I think I'm not like Einstein. I like what Einstein said, and that he said you should never memorize what you can look up. But sometimes it's good to memorize things because you can recall it, right? The first economic principle, and you can see it here on screen too as I'm reading, is that people face trade-offs, right? To get something you want, you must give up something else that you want. Right? Like if I want to spend time just with my wife and I want to take her out tonight, I have to sacrifice time with my kids. Right? It's just that, like, if my wife and I want to go out by ourselves tonight, I have to trade time hanging out with my kids in order to do that. So in economics, people face trade-offs. So think about it like this. If someone wants to hire you for a job, that means they have to reject potentially 1,000 other resumes that they received, or maybe it's just 15 people applied for them to pick you. They face the trade-off of losing the other 14 people. What I find with people who are, or quote unquote, broke, so to speak, most of it's a mindset issue. They have this sense of entitlement that, oh man, I'm a nice person and I'm good and blah, blah, blah. It's, yeah, but are you amazing? Because there's 14 other people outside competing with you. And are you really, if you're being supremely honest with yourself, like Gene was a minute ago saying that they didn't read any books, I very much prefer to work with that person, right? Who's honest and self-aware. If you're being really honest with yourself, were you the best candidate? If they faced a trade-off of 14 other people who are very competitive and they pick you, then you have to be a cut above. The same goes for if I'm competing for a contract or, for example, I talk about this a lot, this coaching program that I have. If I want people to join this coaching program, right? What sets this program apart from, say, I don't know who else teaches programs out there, like a Ty Lopez program, right? Now, I can tell you what's different about this entire, because I've been through Ty's programs and I like them. I like his programs, but I can tell you that for what you get in my program, for example, there's a lot more depth. Now, if you go through the progression of Ty's programs, like up to the top, you eventually get to that depth. But I give it up front, and I don't have the upsells that he has. And I'm not saying that that's bad. That's actually good business, right? That's why his program makes $100 million a year. But I chose to do that differently, right? So like when I have this coaching program, and if I wanted you, let's say at the end of this call, to purchase this program, how can I differentiate this from all the you could be on Udemy, you could be on Masterclass, you could be on Ty Lopez, you could be on, trying to think of a bunch of other people that coach. Well, how do I differentiate myself? Well, none of these programs do as good a job as me at helping you determine self-awareness, right? Really digging deep into who you are as a person, what drives you, what your values are, what your motivations are, what you're good at. Ty teaches that one, right? He and I both teach that one. Just using Ty as an example. I'm not picking on him because I think a lot of his stuff's pretty good. I'd say that what also differentiates me is cost. This is a tenth of what you'd pay for Ty's basic programs in a lot of cases. That's his old stuff. Some of his newer stuff is cheaper because I think he realized that only people like me were going to be able to afford these $4,000 programs that he was selling, right? So how would I, and then what would I tell you? So right here in the benefit, like I lead with these benefits. And if you notice, this is a pro tip for you all that want to sell a product. I lead with the testimonials so that you can see, you don't have to take my word for it. I think it's awesome. I built it. But you can listen to all these other people tell you what they got out of working with me. And each one of them is going to tell you what was different about how I work and how other people help them, right? So, and then you talk about benefits, and I lead with self-awareness, guys, because I can't tell you how many people have come through, especially my marketing course when I was teaching people how to market on social media. I'm trying to think how many people, it was at least 3 came to me and says, I need to quit your program. And I said, okay, no problem. There's no obligation to stay here. And and they were like, it's because you taught me that I'm not doing you. I didn't teach them. I helped them understand that the dream that they thought they had wasn't actually their dream and they needed to go build this nonprofit, right? Which I was very excited about because now I might be losing a monthly customer because there was a monthly fee associated with this before we packaged it when I was coaching people in person. Now you're watching the videos of me coaching people in person. But they came to me, it was like, I got to go build this nonprofit. I got to get off social media and doing all this entertainment stuff. And I said, that's great. And they were apologetic. And I said, no, like what you and I have done together is the greatest value that this program can give you. It helped you become self-aware. Instead of me teaching you how to get really good at all this marketing and entertainment stuff, and then you get 10 years down the road and you're miserable because you got really, really good at the wrong thing. And that's hell. That's a hell that I wouldn't want anybody to live through, right? So we lead with self-awareness. Then, I'm an ex-military guy. We do nothing without a purpose. So we start helping people understand, why are you doing what you're doing? And anybody that's been with me, especially from the beginning, what I used to tell them when they'd say, I'm not motivated, I say, you don't have a problem with motivation. You have a problem with purpose and desire. Because when you know why you're doing what you're doing, when you know why, and that why is strong enough and it's rooted in your core values as a human being, meaning it's always going to be there and you can't get away from it. You die if you didn't get to do it. You're going to have all the motivation in the world because you're being driven by purpose. And I tell people all the time, your why will keep you in the game when you get tired, when customers tell you no, when all these things start to happen. Your purpose will keep you in the game. Guys, I'd have been off YouTube years ago if my purpose was getting followers or subscribers, right? I knew the content that I was going to make was going to attract a very niche audience. Because how many people are going to sit here and listen to some big-headed, light-skinned, black, Asian, white dude talk to them about economics for 2 hours when they could be watching something funny or fun, or you could be watching game. I couldn't believe how many people came on the show on the stream last night when Game of Thrones was on. But it shows that they have the tenacity and the resilience and the desire to win, right? Which is a differentiating factor in success. So, then we get into accountability, right? You're not just going to come here because I get on people's cases because I know the statistics. I run and sell a course. I know only 30% of the people that buy it go through it. And I always know immediately who those 30% are because they're the folks asking me questions in my Facebook page. They're telling me, yo, I just watched the first 4 videos in one night and the videos are 4 hours long, right? That's a lot of content, but it's also a lot of value. Right? I know immediately. And then the people that I never hear from, I know they're going to watch maybe. I had a dude come through one of my, and I teased him about it. He bought the program years ago when I first started. He was one of my first customers. And like a year later, we were on a VI because that's when I started this. What's now the Good Life Playbook program was me coaching in person. Except the difference between this is you're just listening and typing. They could actually talk back to me. And he's on one of the calls. He's like, "Hey Brian, can you help me with XYZ?" And I said, "Dude," I almost said his name. I don't want to say his name. I said, "Dude, that's the second video in the pre-recorded stuff." And he starts giggling. He's like, "Yeah, I never got around to watching that." I'm like, "Well, get around to watching it." Because that video is half an hour long and I don't want to take up everybody else's time answering a 30-minute question that you could have, like, I gave you the answer. Like, I gave you the answers to the test and then you show up to the test and still get a D, right? And so there's accountability there. And then not only that, you're in this program with a bunch of other people who are bouncing ideas off of you, asking questions, answering your questions, because we have a private Facebook group where people can ask questions. And I've gotten all kinds of questions about, am I pursuing the right career, to, I have an idea for this thing I want to start. Do you guys think it could work? People are now starting to collaborate with one another. In fact, one of the guys that came through my program that then joined our team is now, because to understand the way I run our company is I tell everyone that comes to work for me, Lou Manark, what's up, brother? I tell everyone that comes to work for me, you're either going to move up or you're going to move out, or both. Right? Everyone that comes to me, I tell them my goal is to get you to quit so that you can either start your own thing or you can go do something better. Like, I'm going to equip you with everything you need to be on your own and not need to work for me. That's our goal, is to have that type of turnover. It's almost like you'd never want an economy that had a 0% unemployment rate, right? Because it means there's no turnover. And I'm preparing people to go out into the world and conquer their own dreams, right? So they don't have to fulfill my vision forever. So when they come in, I'm driving these people towards something. And now I got one of my guys, I think he already had the interview with this big video game media company. And I'm like, frickin' A. I said, put me down as a reference, man. Whoever I need to talk to on the phone, I'm all in. Right, to help this guy because he's got dreams of being a filmmaker, and this gig can help him do that way more than doing the work that he does for me. So it's like, yo, let's get that done. All right, and then we move into the community piece. Like, you're not just getting a bunch of videos. Like, this is a group of people who actually give a crap about each other and want each other to win, not just a bunch of strangers. We foster this kind of family environment. Right. But I take you through that just to show you, if I wanted you, and I'd love it if you guys did get involved with this, because my goal actually, and maybe you all can help me with this, my goal is to get 1 million people to go through this program. 1 million people to go through this program. Not for money reasons, because I've made the price so stupidly cheap that even if 1 million people went through it, it wouldn't be like life changing for, my entire lineage, right? It's more about 1 million people go through what I'm walking you through here and what the group and my team are walking you through here, right? 1 million people go through this. We eliminate some of the problems we have. You want to know why our politicians suck so bad, guys? You want to know why we got to Hillary versus Trump? Us. We want to blame our politicians, and you have your agenda, you have your beliefs, other people have theirs, and you fight and you bicker, and then you complain about the politicians. George Carlin said it best. He says, I can't understand people that hate the government, because then you hate yourself. He's like, and I took that and I said, government starts with self-governance. And if we're narcissistic and we're ignorant and we are complacent, our politicians are going to be the same way. They can't be better than us. They can't be. We're the masses, right? And if 1 million people go through this, you'd have 1 million people who are educated. And I don't care what your personal politics are. I'm not saying all of us have to have the same views. What I'm saying is you're educated, you're involved, you become a part. Like that accountability piece is we expect you to go out and help whatever it is you're doing. Like Steve here is a podcast host. His whole goal in working with me all these years, because he's done some work with our team too, is, saving Western civilization from itself, right? Tony, who's a comedian, but really is a community builder. Comedy is what he does on the surface. And then Alyssa, who decided to become a life coach. Like, our expectation is you're going to take what you're learning here and go help the world be better, because they become a part of my vision to reach 1 billion people. Like, I had a person on the call ask, how are you going to reach 1 billion people? I'm not. They are. Right? So we have an expectation that you're going to go out and make the world a better place. And so when I talk about differentiating what I'm doing, and then, you can see the features down here. Pro tip, always start your products with benefits before features. Like, if you start saying that the car goes 0 to 60 in 1 second, like, nobody cares about that. They want to know, is the car going to meet some very specific emotional need that I have as a human being? Every human being here needs self-awareness. Why? Because every human being here, more than anything, you can see it on my whiteboard back here, I think. I don't know if it's in the shot of the camera. Significance. Everybody wants to live a life of meaning. That is what this is about. Like, look up here. You have a powerful purpose. Those words were not chosen by accident. That is me telling you, because you can't fathom how many people come to me and say they don't feel like they have a purpose, and I have to tell them, you are wrong. We just have to help you discover what it is. And it's not me telling anybody anything, because that isn't my role. I don't have the authority or the skill to tell you what your purpose is, but I will show you the tools that you need to employ to discover it, right? That is what sets this apart. And in an economy where you want to be competitive, you want to make more money, or you want to get a husband or a wife or a girlfriend or people to like you, you've got to be able to set yourself apart. I can say without any hesitation that this program, when people go through it, it's going to launch pad them way faster than a lot of these other courses out here. And I'm not going to name any names on that one. I know I named a couple courses that I've been through that I appreciated, because we go the extra mile in helping you lay the foundation for success, which, by the way, friends, the foundation of all success is this right here. And every program I've been through, live seminars, internet coaching, misses that self-awareness piece. And our whole program is predicated. I think the first 4 lessons are all about, even my marketing program starts with self-awareness. Because if you don't have it, you can't make the right decisions to get to the outcomes that you want. And in fact, you may not even understand the outcomes you want until you understand the soul that lives in here. And that is what we help you discover, because we have, through reading and studying and life experience, I understand the tools. I understand what helps people figure this out, because I had to flail around my whole life to figure it out for me. And then I was worse. I had to figure out how to not make apologies for, what I want to do sounds really grandiose. It's going to make me sound like a narcissist. I don't care. People are going to judge me. So what? If I help 1 billion people, judge me. It's fine. It's all good. That's the way I see it. Young IGG says, yo, B, you hiring B. You're the boss I always wanted. I am not currently hiring. But more on that later. There will be a time where that's going to happen. I've got a short list of people that are kind of already in the pipeline when we get to that point. But I'll say you never know. At some point, there's some things we're going to be doing over the next year where I probably will be. I don't know what those positions will exactly look like yet, because some of the stuff we're still building. But, stay connected, man. You never know. Let's see. Luman Arc says, by each person, 10 times to 100 times your efforts. Exactly. My man, the Luman Art, gets it. All right. Let's go back to... But anyway, you guys, I didn't want to leave this point without helping you understand that the whole first principle of economics is you are facing trade-offs. You face the trade-off of trying to figure all this out on your own. Trade-offs of other people teaching programs who look way more attractive than me because they got helicopters and Ferraris in their background that they probably rented. in their YouTube commercials. Although I can tell you Ty does not rent his. His is legit. Right? But and that's secondhand knowledge because I'm connected to a guy that's in Ty's. Like I've been through some of Ty's courses, but I'm connected with a friend of mine who's in like the top course that's like $100,000 a year. Um, so I can vouch for that. But you're facing trade-offs. So how do I show you that what I have for you is not necessarily better, but it's better suited for you and what you're trying to do? If you want to go out and get general knowledge, then a lot of these other courses are going to help you. If you want tailored knowledge to your specific situation, this is what you need to holler at. Right? All right. So we've beat that horse to death. Let's go back to the pieces here. Second one. Let's see. They call it significance of opportunity cost in decision making. Right? Economic principle number 2 is opportunity cost, meaning the cost of something is what you give up to get it. The cost of hanging out with just my wife tonight on a date is missing out on time with my kids, or missing out on time with you all, or time with myself. Taking time, my doctor has told me numerous times I need to make more time for leisure, things that are fun. Obviously I have a lot of doctor's appointments and things that I have to go to for my health as I'm starting to get healthy. But it was like she literally told me, she's like, "What is your hobby besides working out and going to the gun range?" I was like, I don't know. My business? She's like, "No." I was like, video games. She's like, "Yes, play PlayStation. Sit on ass and play PlayStation," she told me. She's like, "And then when you start to get better, I want you to go do stand-up comedy." I said, "Done." I've actually been writing jokes for my set, believe it or not. So more to follow on that. But yeah, opportunity cost is huge. Economic principle number 3. Rational people think at the margin, right? So what does that mean, though? Because that's kind of a heavy concept if you've never delved in economics before, right? Economists generally assume that people are rational. Definition of rational: systematically and purposefully doing the best you can to achieve your objectives. The bottom line is people want to put the least amount of effort in to maximize their results, right? So consumers want to purchase the bundle of goods and services that allow them the greatest level of satisfaction given their incomes and the prices they face. So I want to put the least amount I can put in to get the most amount I can get out, and then within the confines of what I can afford. That's what it means rational people think at the margin. So how would that play out for you in terms of your income? Well, if you wanted someone to pay you $1 million, probably not. You need to not talk to most people because they don't have that much money, right? And I've seen this in the world of like the companies that I've helped. It's when they start talking price, you usually get 3 types of business owner. A business owner is like, "Oh my God, it costs that much," and it's like, okay, yeah, you're not ready to hire a consultant. There's those folks. Then there's the people that are like, "Yeah, I like what you're saying. The price seems a little high," and then I have to remind them, "Yeah, the price is cheaper than what you pay your personal assistant." And we're talking about something that's going to make you potentially 2 to 10 times the amount of income you're making now. How much income is your personal assistant making you? Right? There's those types of clients, and then there's the ones who get it. But that middle client is really what this is talking about, where it's they want to pay the least amount they can pay you in order to get to maximize their results. Right? And then my favorite principle, I've actually quizzed my son on this quite a bit, right? Economic principle number 4. People respond to incentives. And I want to break there for a second because that's really at the heart of what I want to talk to you all about tonight with this idea of being broke. People respond to incentive. If you want me to give you your money, or my money, you need to be able to give me something of equal, or in this case, greater value. Because if someone's going to give you $10, it's because they believe what they're getting is worth 50. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a real life example, right? This Sega Genesis right here is a collector's item. I've always wanted a Sega Genesis because my parents wouldn't let me have one when I was a kid, and my business partner gave me his, but his was the model that didn't have this specific output port on the back, and it didn't have the high definition graphics, which makes this way more collectible. And I am a collector. It's another one of my hobbies my doctor told me to get involved in. And I saw a guy on Craigslist selling this for $10. Now I know this is worth at least 40. I know it, right? Because I've been watching the prices. But when I saw it for $10, and in his comments he said, I don't know if it works though. I haven't plugged it in. I don't have the plugs. And I said, that's cool. I have the plugs. So I hit him up. Was like, yo, um, can we meet up? I got $10 ready for you. And then it was funny when we met up. He actually found the cords, which was really cool, and he threw in some extra stuff, right? But the point there is he showed up. I bought it for $10, knowing that it might not work because I was willing to spend $10 to get something that was potentially worth. I mean, this thing will be worth $100. Give it 2 years. I just spent $10 and made 100. Right? Maybe not 2 years. Maybe in the next 5 years, as Sega Genesis gets more collectible. Right? It's and then he met me at the video game store, my friend that owns the used video game store, and I just took it in and said, hey, can you guys plug this up and test it out for me? I just bought it off of somebody outside, and it worked. I paid him $10 because I was really willing to pay 40 to 50. But I'm going to give you 10 because it's worth a deal. And that's, going back to the value proposition of this program. I purposefully priced it 10 times less than what you would find with, the back when I was joining Ty's programs. They were, $1,000, right? They're cheaper now because I think he realized a lot of his audience couldn't afford that. Like people like me could, but I'm not the bulk of the audience he was reaching, right? But I purposefully priced it so that when people saw the price and everyone's like, "Oh my God, that's it," that's the reaction I want you to have. Now it's not going to be like that for long because once we finish, building it and beautifying it, the price is going to go up, basically double. But I priced it low, one because we could afford to, even though my accountant and my team yells at me for giving stuff away. He even had a customer one time yell at me because he was an entrepreneur. He's like, "Dude, how are you not charging $5,000 for this?" I said, because I want to be the people I'm working to help. They're not there yet, right? Like, yeah, I help businesses that make over $1 million a year. In some cases, I've worked with organizations whose budgets is in the billions, right? But that's fine. The people I'm working to help right now are in the trenches fighting it out. And if I take $1,000, and believe me, this program, when it was, when people were paying me to be on live calls with them, this program got as high as $2,000, and it was worth every penny because it came with all this other stuff. Well, once I told my team that I was getting out of the one-on-one kind of small group coaching business where they're, you're going to watch the videos now versus having me come hang out with you every month. I was like, well, I can lower the price because it's not eating up my time. So I made the price stupid low. So when people see the price, they're like, well, dude, this is worth, like all the other courses on the market that give me less cost anywhere from 500 to 1,000. And this one doesn't cost that much. So then it's immediately like, oh, and then when people buy it and then they see how much value we give and give and give, what does that do, friends? That's not just an issue of responding to an incentive. I now have built what's called, in my terms, is a loyal friend. Most people will call it a loyal customer, but we build relationships with our customers. We want them to know that we treat this like a marriage. We're not just trying to sell you something and walk away. We're trying to sell you something and make sure you get to the finish line if you're willing to put in the work. Some people just aren't willing to work and you can't help them. Like they just keep buying course after course after course after course and nothing changes because they don't change, right? But again, I know people face incentives. So when I give you the incentive of this is really worth 2,000, and then you realize, holy crap, it only costs a tenth of that or less, actually. What? Right? So it immediately drives people to, and then you talk about some of the marketing things that we use, but we don't use this intentionally. It's just the reality. The price is going to go up once we finish building this out. And it's like, well, people are like, well, I need to get on board now while I can still get the cheaper price. And I'm like, yeah, that's an incentive to act now, right? And so in your life, let's bring it back to you guys and the system here. In y'all's lives, you need to be able to figure out how can you give someone an incentive to say hire you or to pay you more. What are you willing to give? And friends, this is the key. So many of you want more and you don't understand that the principle of getting more is giving more. And that's one of the laws the Bible set up, for God's sake. And it's a law of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. right? So if you give sparingly, expect to reap sparingly, right? If you are not willing to give a lot of your effort, knowledge, and abilities, don't expect to get much back for it. And that goes back to what Eero Lamb was saying, which is some of you, you're at the stage where you may not have a lot of leverage or incentive to give somebody, but you do have time. And you need to be tearing through these books so that you can, not just money books, you need to be learning persuasion and marketing. You know how many of these companies need help with marketing and they can't afford me? There's a lot of companies out there that need somebody to come in and help them, but they can't afford me because, we charge premium rates because we only want to work with a certain type of client. But there's companies out there that would pay you, right? You may not have the skills and the 2 decades of working in this arena that I have of experience, but you can go to somebody who can pay you a couple $100 a month to come in and help them because you can immediately, you could just go through my marketing course, which is a bonus of this other course I just told you about, and you can learn enough to go help a business with their Facebook and YouTube, and you can use the principles to help them with the other platforms too, right? Because the only thing that really changes on the platforms is context. What works on a platform works on pretty much any platform. It's just the context that changes. So, guys, if you're not getting what you want, it's because you're not giving enough value. It's as simple as that. You are paid in direct proportion to the value you give other people, and that value is a perception. If I perceive that you were going to give me a $50 machine, I'm happy to give you 10 if that's all you're going to ask me. I would have paid, well, not without a guarantee that it works, I wouldn't have paid 40. Right, but if he would have guaranteed me, yo, it works, I'd have handed him $40 on the spot. But he charged me 10, so I'm all in. Right? Like I was like, I'll come meet you. Where do I go? Right? And that's the same principle with my course. Is like I'm gonna give you so many incentives to join that if you don't join, you're gonna kick your own self in the face. It's like, why wouldn't I? And I had a guy that joined the program back when it was $2,000, and he's just like, and he had the money, it wasn't an issue. It was just like, yo, I should have done this 3 or 2 years ago when you started. Because it was when I first started the program, the pilot, it was just my friends on the internet. I was just trying it out. So I charged them $5 a month. You know? Early bird gets the worm. That's why you shouldn't drag your feet. All right, economic principle number 5. So please do not miss that one. That is the most important principle in this whole list. I could technically stop here, but I don't want to because I want to give you guys some more value. All right. Economic principle number 5. What does it say? Trade can make everyone better off. Let's see what they say on here. Trade makes everyone better off. Trade is not like a sports competition where one side gains and the other side loses. I like that. Consider trade that takes place inside your home. Your family is likely to be involved in trade with other families on a daily basis. Most families do not build their own homes, make their own clothes, or grow their own food, right? Countries benefit from trading with one another as well. Trade allows for specialization in products that benefits countries. And that's the piece, right? Trade allows you to specialize in what you do best. So how does that work when we're not talking about a business or an economy? Well, you trading your skill to someone who doesn't have your skill allows them to, and this is what I tell CEOs all the time. I can teach you in about 8 hours, I can teach you how to do everything I do. Now, you won't be as good at it as I am because I've been doing it for a long time and I have the benefit of experience. But I can teach you what to do. And in fact, that's a service I offer very rarely for several $1,000s to come into a business for 8 hours and coach them. Right? But wait a minute, why is this thing being crazy? Okay, there we go. I tell the CEOs and the founders, the owners, I can teach you how to do all this in 8 hours. But it's not the best use of your time. The best use of your time is to actually be the CEO. So me trading you my skill set, then that's adding value, that's giving them incentive which to pay me. You paying me makes it so that you don't have to be the CEO and the CMO. You get a CMO to come in and just take over it for you so you can focus on what you do best. Right? That's why I have an accountant, because I'm not the best at that. Now, to own a business, you got to be able to do some basic accounting, right? You got to be able to fill out, you got to be able to, do a profit and loss statement. You need to understand things like lifetime value of a customer. You need to know those things, right? It would make sense to know things like EBITDA and stuff like that too, even though you could probably be marginally successful without that level of knowledge. But the point is, I know all that stuff, and I am marginally mediocre at it. Mediocre enough that if I didn't have an accountant, we'd stay in business. But having an accountant allows someone to go over my numbers who is an expert. And we just actually, I just met with him yesterday for our taxes. And he can, like, he's giving me advice in his office before I've even paid him for the service he already gave me. And he's like, yo, you're going to have to switch your company from this type of entity to this type of entity, probably depending on what your profits are going to look like. I said, well, in 2019, it's going to be somewhat flat because, we're going to have an influx of cash, but we're going to have to spend it on things to, people and resources and things that we need to do the work. I said, but in 2020 is where you'll see the jump. He's like, then in 2020, you're going to have to change. He's an expert. He knows that better than I do. Tell me that I need to change the entity of my business. Why? Because I'm a CEO, dude. That's what I'm good at. I am a good CEO and a good COO. I am not a good CFO. I'm also a good CMO, right? But my biggest strength is being the CEO. It's coming up with the vision and helping and aligning the company to that vision and then going and finding other people to come help us build it. That's what you're doing here tonight, right? As one of my viewers, you're going to help me carry forward this vision. This is what I do best, right? I'm not the best at being the CFO. That's why I bring someone in that's really good at that. And that's what I'm trading him money for his time to help me do that, which is why he makes a ton of money because he's really good at that. You see what I mean? Like I'm not even, going forward, I won't be in charge of our sales because I can do sales, but there's a lot of facets of sales that I just don't like. And my personality kind of lends me sometimes to be a little bit too forthright with people, right? I lost a deal one time because I didn't show the requisite amount of excitement, right? Like a good salesperson would have mirrored their emotions. And I was like, look, man, we're going to get in here. We're going to make this money. We're going to be good. But because I didn't fall back on my sales training and be like, I should have mirrored. And that person started to feel a little antsy. A better salesperson than me would have squared that away. We wouldn't have lost the deal, right? So it allows you to trade. Let's see. Luman Arc says, I've been told I'm funny, but looks I'll get you my testimonial tomorrow afternoon, boss man. I appreciate that, man. I saw you on the Facebook group say you were working on it. Luman Arc is also one of the guys in our program, and a military veteran who I am very proud of, who's been through his own slice of hell. I can tell you that much. Let's see. That was principle number 5, right? Trade allows entities to specialize in what they do best, right? Here's a fun one. Principle number 6, the government can sometimes, markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity, okay? So, definition, a market economy, an economy that allocates resources through the decentralized decisions of many firms and households as they interact in markets. So basically decentralizing the control and allowing the market to pick is what that's saying, right? So how does that play out in your life? Well, you are a part of a market. Do you have knowledge and skills that make you competitive in that market? And if you don't, you need to go out and get that knowledge and those skills. You need to develop that to make yourself marketable in a market where there's not like a government entity saying, this is how you will do business. It's the market. You hear, if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, and I highly suggest you do because he's awesome, he talks a lot about the market decides. The market is the market is the market is what he says. And he's like, I watch people make YouTube videos and then they get mad that nobody's watching them. And then they blame the audience. Like, it's not the audience's fault you made a video they didn't want to watch, dummy. Should have made something they want to watch. Right? And so it's a good way to organize economic activity because it's just math. The market is going to tell you what it wants. And when you build something it doesn't want, it's going to vote with its attention. It's going to vote with its dollars. That's good for you because if they vote against you, then you know you have something you need to change. If they vote for you, then you know what you need to continue making more of. And then you find that happy medium of Well, are you enjoying what the market wants? An example from my YouTube channel is when I started making Myers-Briggs content, the intent of those videos was to be a sort of gateway drug to get people into more effective, kind of higher level thinking personality psychology. And everybody wanted to stay kind of in this Myers-Briggs cult of I'm an INFP, I'm an INFJ, and that's fine, right? I think Myers-Briggs is great for initial self-awareness, but that's pretty much where it ends. There's a lot of other things I think people need to know about themselves, and unfortunately, they use Myers-Briggs as this end-all be-all of this is who I am and this is who I'm always going to be, and I'm in this box that I can't get out of, right? But the problem was the market was telling me we want more, we want more, we want more, and I'm like, no. The market voted we want this, but I had to basically have I had to lose a Pareto efficiency. It's a real fancy way to say a win-win. A win-win situation is I create something I like and you all like it and watch it. Problem was I was then being asked to create something I didn't want to create anymore because I thought it was being more detrimental than helpful. And how am I going to be the helpful dude? And I'm creating stuff that's not actually helping you. I had a moral issue with that, so I stopped doing it. That's why I made the joke video, what INFP should eat for dinner. And I was actually eating food. I was hoping it would kind of make people laugh in a kind of abrasive way, but then people really took to it. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get out of this. Right? So I had to accept that what the market wants and what I want are at odds. So I had to be willing to take a cut in order to be happy. I had to take a cut in viewership and in attention and the amount of people I could reach because what they wanted me to make was going to make me unhappy. And those are the things you have to think about. Right? But because a market works the way it does, I can operate with that knowledge and learn, okay, I've got to find other ways to reach people, i.e. podcasts and Facebook and Instagram and Twitch, all places where you should be following me. Because eventually these conversations are moving to Twitch. I hope you guys know that. I announced that I was quote unquote leaving YouTube. It's not that I'm leaving it, it's that in the next over the next couple of months what's going to happen is you're not going to see these anymore. This is going to move to my podcast into Twitch, and then I'm just going to upload it to YouTube. So you're going to want to be following me on Twitch because that's where these conversations are going to happen. They're not going to necessarily be on YouTube anymore once I can help people make that transition. All right. Number 7, governments can sometimes improve market outcomes, right? 2 broad reasons for the government to interfere with the economy: promotion of efficiency and equality. Government policy can be most useful when there is market failure, right? So basically the purpose of the government is to act where the market cannot. I'll give you an example: the military. I do not want the military to be privatized. Like, we already fight wars for economic reasons. You turn the military over to Amazon and Microsoft, and you'll never stop fighting wars because there's too much profit in it, right? We don't need to dwell on that one. Principle number 8, a country's standard of living depends on its ability to produce goods and services. That applies to you too. A person's ability to affect your standard of living comes down to your ability to produce goods and services, or in this case, your ability to add value to other people, right? And that's the whole crux of this conversation tonight is if you're broke, it's because you're not adding enough value to other people. Period. If you don't hear anything else I say tonight, that's the point. People stay broke because they don't understand that it's not going and getting another degree. It's how can you add more value to someone or some entity such that they're willing to give you more money. And sometimes it's just more output. It's maybe you need to do more work, right? Maybe you need to go get a second job or whatever the thing is, right? And that can be temporary. Obviously, you don't want to necessarily have 2 jobs for the rest of your life, but temporarily that can help you earn more income to give you more resources to do other things that can get you more freedom from that first job, right? So those are things you want to think about. But all your ability to earn comes down to your ability to add value to another person or organization. Principle number 9, prices rise when the government prints too much money, right? Inflation. Don't need to stick to that one. Principle number 10, society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. All right, so if we come down here, most economists believe that the short-run effect of a monetary injection, basically printing money, is lower unemployment and higher prices. right? So an increase in the amount of money in the economy stimulates spending and increases the demand for goods, which creates inflation. Higher demand may over time cause firms to raise their prices, but in the meantime, it also encourages them to increase the quantity of goods and services they produce and to hire more workers to produce those goods and services. Covered up. More hiring means lower unemployment, right? The short run trade off between inflation and unemployment plays a key role in analysis of business cycle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you don't need to really focus on those. The ones I really want you to focus on is number one, people face trade offs, right? Number two, the cost of some opportunity cost. The cost of something you want is what you give up to get it. Three, right? Don't even need to worry about three. Four is the big one. People respond to incentives. Four is the main principle I really, really want you to focus on. Okay? People respond to incentives. If you want more, you need to give more value. And the key to economic success is, what do you guys, let me leave that one to you guys. What do you think the key is to your economic success? After everything I just shared with you, what do you think the key to economic success is to your increasing your income, increasing your resources, increasing favor with other people, whatever you're determining as success in this case? What is the key to economic success? I'm going to take some comments while you guys are typing your answers. Remember, these are participatory calls. This is not a sit and listen to me talk for 2 hours. Participatory. Kenny Heaton says, initial yes. That video cracked me up. I was like, no way is this real. And thankfully it wasn't. Let's see what we got here. All right. Got that covered. Someone just sent me a message on Facebook. I heard it chime. Did I show you guys the book? This is the book, right? This is the newest edition, the 8th edition. As you can see, it's $150. I posted a link. Posted our Amazon. If you have $150 laying around and want to purchase the book, by all means, you can click on that link. What I recommend you do if you're trying to save a couple of bucks is, one, you can get the paperback for much cheaper, $62, or you can just buy, like I have the 6th edition. I guarantee you, if you look at the used versions of this book, you can find the 6th edition probably for $50, right? This kind of basically what professors will do is they'll print updated versions of this book so they can keep selling it at a higher premium at the school, and they'll add stuff to it. They'll revise things that they said, but the changes aren't usually catastrophically different. Right? Let's see what the comments are coming in. Adam Tabor says, for me, it's knowledge, effort, and confidence. Okay, so Adam Tabor says the key to economic success is knowledge, effort, and confidence. The answer is right there on that cue card there. I don't know if I flashed that too fast. For me, it's knowledge, effort, and confidence. That's not bad. Those are good things, but they are not the answer I have on my cue. Like if this is Jeopardy, it would be like, oh, sorry, Adam, no. Nice try. Lou Manarch says, abooks.com for used. Good call. Yeah, and Amazon sells used too. I don't know if everybody knows that. But like this whole, you guys can't see it on camera, but the Story of Civilization, which is an 11-book set by one of my favorite authors of all time. The set is, I think the set new, like $400. My mom got it for me for Christmas for, I think it was $111 for like an old school used set. All right, what else you guys got? Come on. What is the key economic success? Let's see. What else did I have to click on? And here, for those of you who are curious about the program we talked about, if you haven't been on previous calls, here's the link to the coaching program. Like if you want me to help you get this stuff squared away, understand, have these concepts of self-awareness, understanding your purpose, like understanding who you are is the key, the foundation of all success, because the foundation of success comes from consistent and disciplined good decision making. That comes from self-awareness, right? And then understanding your purpose, accountability, community. Right now, it's over 22 hours of content. And I don't say that to scare you, like, oh my God, because you don't have to watch it all in a day, right? I actually recommend you don't. I actually recommend you go through at most one lesson a day, because there's a lesson, then there's required reading. We have books, a whole host of books that are in the program that we want you to read, like the best books for understanding, helping you flesh out and better understand the concepts we talk about. Then a lot of the lessons have practical exercises that will take you some time. In fact, I had a lot for 2 or 3 days for some of the lessons, right? So right now it's up to 22 hours. Once it's all said and done, I'm going to guess it's going to tap out around 30 hours with the content that's coming for the people who are in the live program. Um, and I secretly, I haven't told anybody this, but the people who've already been joining this early bird special that we've been giving them to join this program, we've been letting them know, hey, um, before we get a ton of people joining, we're going to let you come on one of the live calls. But don't tell anybody that. Uh, Folks that are getting in right now, we're saying, hey, we're going to let you sneak in on one of our live calls, which I think is cool because they missed, for the last 4 years, they've missed probably how many months? They've missed like 50 live calls. I don't mind letting them get in on one, even for the super cheap price. But that's that. All right, come on, guys. The answer to the question, what is the key to? Nobody has an answer for that. I mean, I don't know is better than just giving me the finger and not answering. What do you think the key to economic success is? You didn't think you were just going to come here and listen to me, did you? Veterans of watching me know better than that. All right, let's see. Go back here. I'm trying to see if the answer is actually on this wiki page. Which, even if you can't afford the book, I definitely recommend you come to this page and read this in more detail and study it with some regularity. All right, so you guys mean to tell me nobody has an answer for me? Alexandra Cruz says, Bryant! She's screaming at me, which is fine. No issues with that. How you doing, Alexandra? It's good to see you. Lou Manark says, providing more value than you are extracting. You are getting warmer. Kiara Williams says, invest in yourself, level up your skill set, and always add more value. You're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. The key. Now, those are very important, right? All those things that you all listed are very important to improve your situation. And we're talking about the key, though, the thing that cannot be missing if you want to have some level of economic success. Young IGG says, giving more value than you are actually getting monetarily. Yep. I want to say Kiera is probably the closest. Investing in yourself, level up your skill set, and always add. Kiera's answer is the closest to what's on the cue card. Alexandra Cruz says, in a very good mood today. Where you been? I have been working on my health. That's where I've been. And if you hadn't been on previous calls, I had announced that I was going to stop making content specifically for YouTube. Later this year, we're going to focus 100% on our podcast. And it's going to be kind of like Joe Rogan, right? Where the podcast is our main focus, but then we're going to record the podcast, but we're going to stream it on Twitch. And then once it's done streaming on Twitch, my editor is going to capture the recording and put the recordings on YouTube. So there will be YouTube videos. They just won't be videos that were made for YouTube. So after announcing that, I was like, I should probably do some more live videos just to help everybody understand that if you're not following me on Twitch, you probably should. I've also been shooting these videos to hip everybody to the fact that this private coaching program that I've had for the last 4 years that everybody's been clamoring to get into, but it just cost too much. Like it was, there were different pricing plans for different people, but it averaged anywhere from $500 to $2,000 depending on when people got in. And so we decided to, now that I announced to my students, the people that I coach privately, that I was pulling out of doing live online coaching so that I could focus on my health. But in the process of doing that, I was going to take all of these sessions that we had together. We shot videos of all of them, right? And some people have bought it already. We're going to capture all of that content, turn it into a program that we can then sell for way cheaper than the price it costs for people to come in and get the one-on-one small group coaching from me. So I wanted everyone to know that that was happening, specifically because until we finish doing all the uploads and all the editing and the chopping and putting it together, we're offering it at an even greater discount than what it'll be when we launch the program very soon. I wanted to hip everybody to, like, if you've wanted me to work with you and the issue was you just couldn't afford, those previous prices, we've now dropped it by like a tenth. It's like a tenth of the price for me to come on the live calls, and now people can still get the benefit of the content and learn from me coaching other people. For kind of the joke we told when the team and I met about it to talk about it was, we're going to price it such that a kid in college who's eating ramen could still afford it if he was willing to save some cash and hustle a little bit, right? We made it that cheap. But that's where I've been. Kiara says, I don't know. Just joined a couple minutes ago. Mindset, she says. Okay, that's cool. Young IGG says, expanding your knowledge so that you have value to offer. Getting closer. Shadavia Bryan says, always grow until you get where you need to. Kiara Williams says, without a renewed mind, you will always fall into old bad habits. That is true. Alexandra Cruz says, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Is the podcast going to be on Stitcher? The podcast will be on iTunes at the very least. It'll be on Twitch live. Stitcher, I'm not sure. I guess eventually we'll put it on everything. But we will broadcast it live on Twitch. People can actually watch me shoot the podcast with either my co-hosts or my guests. You'll be able to watch me as I shoot it live, and then you'll have it on iTunes for after the fact. Kiara Williams says, knowing your purpose. You're getting even closer. And I'm getting ready to read the answer to you guys here after I get through the comments. Eurolamp says, people usually only change when they experience pain, right? Or they experience a very strong desire for something good, which is the one that I advocate for, because you can create that. So you can kind of create this propulsion towards something if you're willing to put in the effort to do it. Kiara Williams says, at Eurolam, LOL, true. Stephen Bland says, hey, B, how's things going? Man, it's amazing. It's amazing. All right, here's the deal. The key to economic success, friends, is specializing in what you do best. And that, going back to what we talked about with this coaching program that I've been trying to shove down everybody's throat tonight, the key to economic success is specializing in what you do best. How do you know what you do best? Self-awareness. How do you get self-awareness? Go through my program. And you go through, what is it, a 2.5-hour course on how I walk you through all of the steps to understand exactly who you are, what your values are. Because most of you have probably seen my 69 Pillars of Success. You've been through that 5 Pillars of Self-Awareness video. And that's very good for a general audience to begin the process. But we do a deep dive into it in the program where I help people like go deep into the hexacode test, into their values. Because some people struggle with, well, I don't know what my values are. So I help them flesh that out based on their hexacode test. I can guess a lot of times, like if you score really high on conscientiousness, I can guess what some of your core values are. I can also guess what your motivation is usually going to be. Right? There's a lot of correlations because I've been working with people for so long on these things. Let's see. Alexander Cruz says, Young IGG says, knowing the status of your economic market. Alexander Cruz says, somehow when I tried to do a podcast on an app, it automatically uploaded to iTunes. Were you using Anchor? Anchor does that automatically. Alexander Cruz says, yep, it's important to know what your talents are. Yeah, and so if the key to economic success is specializing in what you do best, and the key to you not being broke is adding more value to people, right? You add more value, you get more out of the deal. And here's the part that kills people, though, is you start adding more value, and then immediately you expect, oh, everything's going to be more amazing. It's like, no, sometimes it takes a little time. You got to give the world time to catch up to your efforts, right? It took me a long time to get 6,000 people on, well, now it's 40,000 if you include my legacy channel, but to get 40,000 people to follow me took a lot of effort. And I've been putting in a lot of effort creating a lot of great content because I break every rule that YouTube has. not rules like I'm in violation. I mean, I break the rules of what makes people want to watch content. Right? It takes a longer time. But I knew that going in. I was like, I'm not going to do hyperactive jump cut vlogs of me jumping off a cliff. Like if you guys want to watch that stuff, like if you're that bored, cool. Like I'm just not that bored. I got stuff to do, dog. I got kids. I got health that I'm working on. I got a mission to try to help the world save it from itself. I got all these things going on, so boredom is usually not a problem for me. So like, I hear people say, "Yeah, I was scrolling through my Instagram for an hour." Like, what? How do you have time? Like, how many women doing squats from the Ukraine in yoga pants can you watch before it's like, all right, enough. I need to go do something with my life, right? Like, how bored do we have to be constantly in need of nonstop entertainment, right? Like I have so much stuff to do a lot of times that I don't have the plus I have a lot of kids. So there's no such thing as boredom in my house. Like you just if you were on the beginning of this call, you heard my youngest having a conniption fit right outside my office because he couldn't get access to my mother-in-law who he wanted to hang out with, but she wasn't feeling well, so blah blah blah. Let's see. Um Yeah, it was on Anchor. Got it. Adam Tabor says, please be on places other than iTunes as I don't own Apple products. I must have more. I think it's on Google Play. Do you have that? Like I said, it'll be on Twitch live, and then the video of the podcast will eventually get uploaded to YouTube. So, but I think the app that we're using to manage our podcast will also put it on the Google Play Store. Like if you use an Android device. And if not, we'll look into making sure that happens because we don't want to leave anybody behind. Speaking of that, that's the only reason I'm on Instagram because I'm just violently aware of the fact that most people, there's 26,000 people who are following me here. Most of them are not going to sit here and watch a 2-hour video, but they'll watch a 1 minute version of it. And it's funny because the stuff on Instagram is inspiring and it's intelligent and it's whatever, but it's only a minute. Like you're getting like a bite, like not even a bite. Like you're getting a sip of water in the desert, and some people are content with this. Like, oh, this changed my life. Like, okay, 1 minute Instagram video was life changing, and maybe that's true. That's cool. Um, but I do that because I'm just aware of the fact that some people are not gonna have the energy or the time to sit through 2 hours of me talking. So I'm empathetic to the fact that, and it's not all laziness and unwillingness to learn. Some people just have circumstances where maybe that 1 minute Instagram video is all they got. And I respect that and I empathize with it. So we do it because my editor, who I don't think, I'm one of my editors is here, Steven's here, but Tony's not. Tony hit me up. He was just like, dude, can we please get off of Instagram? I hate this platform. I was like, trust me, dude, I hate it too because I've had enough. Like I purposefully will, because I don't almost ever go into my feed and look at stuff. Like I'll do it maybe once every couple of days and just respond to stuff if my friend says something cool or whatever. Um, but I purposefully went into like the search feature and started clicking on like guns, 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 army people, army people. Like I don't want to see any yoga pants or any models or any of that crap or any living my best life or people pictures of people's food. Like I forced the algorithm to just show me people at gun ranges. Like that's all I need to see. And so Tony was just like, dude, can we please not be on Instagram? I don't want to. I was like, I get it, bro, but a lot of our audience just isn't gonna make time to watch this stuff on YouTube, and a lot of our audience is younger, so they probably don't even listen to podcasts, right? Or at least if they do, they're listening to entertainment podcasts. They're not listening to science stuff or what we're talking about. So I said, we got to give them something, man. And if nothing else, it becomes a gateway drug for that person who right now doesn't have the time, but they're going to get hungry. They're going to want something more. They're going to want, I need more. And like, oh, this dude has this 2-hour video on why I'm broke. Let me go watch that. And then little did people know they're going to get in here and get an economics lesson, right? Which is important, which is why I asked the question in the beginning of the call, how many books have you read about economics and money? Another good book that I've actually just started reading. I've had it for a while, but I never got around to reading it. Is The Social Life of Money. Right, another one, Warren Buffett's advice for, where is it? I don't know if I can read it here. It's lessons for investors and managers, right? From Warren Buffett. There's a ton of financial principles in that book. There's Ray Dalio's book. Oh man, what was the name of Ray Dalio's book? That's really good. Like I've listened to Ray Dalio's on podcasts where he just goes deep into how economics works. It's the type of person who he talks, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm too stupid to listen to this. But that's what you want. Like you want to get around people a lot of times who say stuff that you don't understand because one, it creates that curiosity part of your genetics to kick in and want to learn more, and it forces the brain to grow, which is a part of what we're talking about tonight. Let's see. Kiera Williams says, just found you and I already love your content. Thank you, Kiera. That's a blessing to hear. I will warn you, if you found me through the Myers-Briggs content, I don't make that stuff anymore. So hopefully that's okay with you. Alexander Cruz says, what do you mean what's wrong with your health? Well, it's a long story. Bottom line is I've been working to get better with taking care of myself. Because for a lot of years I've been taking care of everybody else and neglected myself. So I landed in the hospital a couple of times last year and decided to start doing stuff about my mental health and my physical health. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna be fine. I just, I have. There's a lot. I've got years of not taking care of myself. And then when I say not take care of myself, like I was working out, I was doing all the right things, eating right, but there was just a lot of things I wasn't doing to take care of myself that I have to change. Uh, and I'm a proactive person, so once I knew that there was a challenge, like I went head first and said, okay, I'm not going to the hospital anymore. Um, so started working on it. If you're on my mailing list, I explain it in more detail. I'm not going to bore everybody here on the video with it. Let's see. Alexandra Cruz says, who's going to be on the podcast? Are you doing interviews and stuff? Yeah, so I've got some co-hosts. My business partner will be on there quite a bit. Uh, my team will be on. We're gonna actually some of the stuff we do will be entertainment driven. I wanted to do wanted to have at least one segment or one show because it's the Bryant Chambers movement, which means we'll have a bunch of different we'll have life strategy podcasts, we'll have business strategy podcasts, but then we'll have some entertaining conversations like we'll have philosophy type stuff. But then I wanted to have one about video games because that's my hobby, and my doctor told me I had to make more time for my hobbies, which was hilarious that your doctor has to tell you to sit on ass and play PlayStation instead of trying to work 18 hours a day. But I told my team like let's do a gaming show where like on Twitch I have a show called the Get Off My Lawn Gamer, which we'll probably be doing tonight at some point. Maybe we're doing some spring cleaning, so I got to get back to helping my wife. But I have this Get Off My Lawn Gamer show, and kind of the tagline is listen to this old guy hate on, review modern games. So I'm an older dude. I grew up like the NES. In fact, my first console was a PC. It was a Commodore 64, and then I got an NES way late. Like I don't think I got an NES until I was in middle school. My parents were way late to the party. Like by the time I got an NES, I think the Sega Genesis and a bunch of other stuff had been out. It was just my parents were not all about buying me the games at first, but then they did. But so I grew up when games were a lot different than they are now, and a lot of modern games have become so. Let's compete with Hollywood movies, and I'm like, why am I watching more of this game than I'm playing it? And the parts that I'm playing aren't even that fun. Like I'm just playing these segments to get to the next movie scene I have to watch that's not that interesting. So we talk a lot about it. So I said, let's do a show where we talk about some of that, where I will go on these rants and get on my soapbox about modern stuff. And my team is, quite a bit younger than me. Some of them are. My business partner's older than I am, but I said, let's just have a fun show where I hate on everything, and it's not fake. Like I get angry, and it's like, like I just played the Division 2, and I've shot a Twitch video where I was like, this is the number one reason why this game is so mediocre. Um, and that's from my perspective, right? It's not the truth. It's just my truth, my reality. Um, Kiara Williams says people have a very short attention span. That's true. I'm trying to help people with that though. Alexander Cruz says, "LOL. I used to post poems that I like. That's good. I hope you're doing okay. We're getting there. I got, decent long road to full recovery, but I'm going to live for a very long time and be healthy. I just got to start taking better care of myself. Kara Williams says, "Do you read through all of those books, or do you use some of Ty Lopez's methods for reading?" I guess you could say I use some. It depends on the book. Like this book, I will read every single word of it, right? Because it's that good, right? And this is the story of philosophy. This book, I will not. Because first of all, Dr. Robert Cialdini's book is better than this one, and this is just repeating a lot of what's in there. But what I'll do in this book is I'll go to the table of contents, figure out which principle of persuasion I want to learn. Okay, when is a loser a winner? So I'll go to page 141, and then I'll say, okay, I'm not going to read this story about Harry Truman. I'm just going to find the paragraph that actually explains the principle to me, and then I'm going to move on. Right, so I was able to get through most of this book just today in a couple of minutes. Right, but some books I'll read everything because it's that good. Like I'm learning so much. So it's a mix of skipping around. Seth Godin. In fact, I'd say it's not Ty Lopez's method. I would say I use Seth Godin's method, where it's he says any nonfiction book really never needs to be longer than about 3 pages. So like a good example is How to Win Friends and Influence People. All the things you need to know are on the last page of every chapter in bullets. You just read, like the book tells you, read this book twice. First time, read it in its entirety, reading all the stories, and then the second time, just read the highlights. I did that because I wanted a lot of the stories I was able to use in my coaching, and when I'm talking to other people, I can use, Benjamin Franklin as an example, that he was basically an asshole until his mentor taught him how not to be and how that was affecting his influence. But then he becomes one of the most influential people in American history, right? So there's that, but if you just want to know the knowledge in the book, just go to the last page of every chapter and it's bulletized. You could read How to Win Friends and Influence People in about 15 minutes if you wanted to. Let's see. Alexandra Cruz says, "I can't play video games. I'll spend days just playing. It's not good, so I stay away." Lou Manark says, "Over a dozen economic development and growth books read, but I was Series 763 stockbroker." Oh, I did not know that, brother. I didn't know you used to do that. That's dope. Let's see. Alexander Cruz says, "I always read the end of the book before reading it." Now, and that's, and I say that saying I don't really ever read fiction books because I get bored. Like they invented movies. Why do I need to read this? And everyone say, "Well, the book is better than the movie." Of course it is. But I still get the gist. Good enough. Let's go. One of my favorite movies and books, fiction, is The Phantom Tollbooth. And yeah, the book is phenomenally better than the movie. But the movie, you get everything that happens. You just miss a lot of scenes that are really awesome. And this one in particular, I don't know why they didn't put in the movie because it would have been so perfect for the atmosphere. Like, why was that? That was the best part of the book. Why was that not in the movie? Right? But with most fiction books, I get bored and I'm like, I'd just rather watch this. Which is interesting because video games, I have the opposite problem. It's like, I'd just rather watch this. Why am I playing it? Just make Metal Gear a movie. I don't need to play through these other scenes with these crappy controllers. See, Adam Tabor says, "If you do anything gaming related, let me know. I've got some experience in that arena. I'd love to talk games and share any knowledge I got." Cool, man. Lou Manark says, "Couldn't keep up with the cokeheads." Yeah, I bet that's true. Same thing for working with lawyers. Same principle. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover tonight. What I'd like to do now, maybe we'll take no more than about 30 more minutes of your time. I want you guys to hit me with questions that you have. And as with any, when I'm doing private coaching with people or working on YouTube, Twitch, doesn't matter. Nothing's off the table. You can ask me questions that are not related to the discussion tonight. It could be about anything you want. I will say, please limit the, "Hey, I'm an ISFP and I want to date an ENFP. Can you give me some advice?" Like, no. I don't know anything about you other than this 4-letter. Like, you might be an axe murderer, and your 4-letter code is not going to help me give you dating advice. So I'd say keep that. And I'm not saying I won't help you, but I will say if you're using the Myers-Briggs to try to predict dating success, you're going to have a long life of potentially frustrating relationships because you're not realizing that a lot of what makes you you is not just encapsulated in that four-letter code. There's other pieces of you that you need to understand that Myers-Briggs cannot help you understand, right? And especially when you're talking about other people. But hit me with whatever questions you have. Let's talk about it. But again, doesn't have to be related to being broke and how to earn more money or understanding economics. It can be, whatever's on your heart. I talked a lot about my coaching program. I highly recommend you all, at the very least, do the request access. This doesn't cost you anything. This just connects you with me so we can talk about it. You can ask me more questions that you may have about the program if you're interested in having us help you with understanding, having self-awareness, and then understanding your purpose, and then us actually helping you go out and execute on it. Um, Highly recommend you do that. If you have questions about it, this is a great place to ask because I can answer them versus writing them to you. But if you have questions about anything, put them in the comment section. Let's discuss it. And then I'll stick around as long as I can to answer questions. Let's see. And I know YouTube's on like a 30-second delay, so I just finished saying that, and everyone's going to take a minute to hear it. So let's go. Okay, again, this is the economics book that we talked about tonight. I would recommend, let's see if it'll let me, other sellers. So here's how I do this. I go to other sellers, see all buying. All right, let's see if that fixes it, y'all. Let's see if our stream comes back up here. All right, it's showing me there. Oh wow, I'm watching. They started adding what's it called? Um, Closed captions to these streams. That's pretty cool. I love that effect of the screen going in there. Let's see. Can you guys go ahead and let me know if you guys can hear me now that we're back up and running? Sorry about that. My computer tends to blue screen of death at least once every couple of days, if not every day, because it's a crappy build that we will be fixing soon. Um, and it's really just I have technology that's too advanced for the motherboard, and it screws it up. And I don't uh, feel like jerry rigging it to make it work. Let's see. Back to the question. So you guys can hear me, right? Because I see you guys commenting. I just want to make sure you can hear me. I want to make sure I'm back on the stream. LOL is for you. All right, cool. You guys can hear me. Let's get that off the screen. Let's pop out the chat real quick. And then I'm like a low budget PBS show. Our roll. We'll go back to our coaching page, I guess, here. And then I'll just pull up the chat. We have some more testimonials coming up too. All right, let's go through what we've got. Lou Manark says, I'm still having issues with organic reach, but it doesn't help that I've been battling back. Yeah, I feel you, brother. So organic reach, the biggest thing that kills people with organic reach is that depending on what you're trying to do, and I'm looking at a message from a customer here, so I'm just trying to make sure they are squared away. Looks like they're happy, which is good. The challenge that people run into with organic reach, especially if you're talking about a blog, is that it takes time for, and I want to make sure I'm actually in the shot here. Okay, good. It takes time for the it takes time for Google to catch up to what you're doing. If you're talking about YouTube, the challenge with organic reach is that if you're attacking something that's really, really, really popular, all right, let's try this for the 50th time, shall we? All right, I forgot to pop the chat out again. That, and then I will get to y'all's questions if my computer doesn't keep crashing. That's weird for it to crash twice back to back. I've never seen it do that. All the more reason to get a new computer. So let's go back to Illuman Ark's comments. So going back to, and And let me make sure that the stream is actually working. My computer. Okay, cool. So I see the stream is working. Hopefully you guys are still here and haven't just said screw it. But going back to Illuman Ark's comments, the challenge with organic reach on YouTube is that if you're trying to go after something very popular, you're facing a lot of competition from other people. If you're going after something that's not that popular, you're going after something that not a lot of people are searching for, right? So if you're trying to get that organic reach, it can be tough. What I always recommend people do, and you've been through my marketing course, you've heard me say this before, but what I typically recommend people do is piggyback. Like find something that's really popular, but find a stronger niche of it that's more specific and tailored to a smaller subset of the bigger audience, and make content in that space such that you can get people to pay attention. The key to organic everything is creating something that's relevant to the viewer, is important to the viewer, and is timely to the viewer. And I'd say timely is a part of importance, right? So the challenge is most of us will just create something and then hope that the views are going to show up. But if we don't know what people are searching for, it's kind of hard to really take advantage of organic reach when we don't know. And there's a lot of tools that you can use. There's a Google extension I use called Keywords Anywhere that shows you, like I'll do a search and then it'll show me here's what people are actually searching for. Here's how many people searched it this month. So I can know, okay, when I do a thing, I should probably title it this or have it along these lines so that people will actually come looking for it and find it. All right, let's see. Kira Williams says, is it really true? And let me make sure that people are actually here while I'm running my mouth. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, it looks like everybody's back. So, what's up, little buddy? Come on in. Come on in, man. Open the door. Come in. Come here. What you doing? Give me a big hug. Yeah, you want to hang out? Okay, well, come in. Give me a big. You got the Nerf gun? Can I have a hug, please? All right. Ah, mwah. Okay. You're welcome to hang out as long as you're not screaming. You're welcome, man. You smell like spaghetti. Did you eat spaghetti? Oh, you ate pizza? Where'd you get pizza from? I ain't get no pizza. Mommy got you pizza. You guys didn't tell me. I feel like y'all are holding out on your dad, man. What's going on with that? Okay. Well, I'm glad you did. Was it good? Actually, I see the pizza. I see some of the sauce on your shirt. Was it delicious? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Black Panther. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see. That is your hand. That's correct. And you have two. That's, yeah, God gave you two hands, man. That's awesome. And you apparently are using it to shoot a Nerf gun. I'm mad that this kid knows how to charge a weapon and fire it. Actually, I'm not mad about it, but can we not point the Nerf gun at me? Of course, you don't have any ammo, so I know I'm not going to get hit. No, don't never look down the barrel of a weapon. Your brothers teach you how to use this stuff and don't teach you how to use it right. And I know it's just a toy, but practice how you play. Yeah. Okay. That's a bowl. You take that downstairs for me? Put it in the sink? Thank you, baby. Never a dull moment. So Kiara Williams says, is it really true that you will be more successful by getting up early? All right, so that's a correlation, right? The principle is not so much getting up early, it's having discipline. You can wake up late every day and still be disciplined, right? Some people just like the idea of getting up early because for most people it's hard and it enforces a grit and a self-discipline in the person that's doing it. So it's correlated with success, but you won't necessarily be more successful just because you get up early. There's just a correlation between people who consistently get up early and succeeding because it's a sign that they have discipline. And what's making you succeed is the discipline, not the actual getting up early part. Right. Young IGG says, I took the hexacode test. I scored 3.6 in honesty and humility, 3.1 in emotionality, 2.1 in extroversion, 2.3 in agreeableness, 4.7 conscientiousness, and 4.13 in openness to new experience. Cool. Nicely done. I would say one of the areas where you want to focus pretty hard. Yeah, baby? Okay. 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 You going to protect us from the monsters? Okay. Okay, man. I hear you, brother. Got him. So what you can't see off camera is my youngest has a Nerf gun that he's pretending to shoot enemies with, and he's letting me know that he is taking care of business with reckless abandon. Okay, shut my door, dude. I need to finish my call, okay? I love you. Bye bye. All right, so one of the things I'd tell you to look into is the 2.3 in agreeableness. All right, so that's kind of that. When people ask me the Myers Briggs questions about, oh, if I'm this and I date that, agreeableness is usually a very good, for me, predictor of how good people's relationships are just in general, right? Like if you have really low agreeableness, these are some areas where you could probably improve and be easier to commune and get along with. And that's where I find a lot of challenges. Obviously, if you score a 1 in honesty and humility, you're not going to be good at relationships because you're not honest, right? And that, trust is the foundation. Awareness and trust are the foundations of good relationships, dating or otherwise, just relationships in general. But having low agreeableness, and I'd say yours is not terribly low. I think it's lower than the median score, but it's one of those things where flexibility, which is a piece of agreeableness, is one where I find the most relationship problems exist. And what most people come at me with is, "Yo, I'm an N type and she's an S type, and that's why we don't get along." And I try to tell people, no. I guarantee you, if you both take the Hexaco test, one of you, if not both of you, is probably high in conscientiousness and low in flexibility. And that makes it really hard to get along with you if you don't exactly share the same values. Right? Or not values, you don't exactly share the same outlooks, right? Or the same ways of doing things because you are inflexible. Right? So that's one of the areas where I would look into depending on what brought your agreeableness score down. Adam Tabor says, trying to figure out what I'm good at, um, what I'm good at. Sometimes I think I have an idea, but I still have some doubt, especially compared with others. How do I know if it's doubt versus knowledge or skill? Well, have you done the fourth pillar and the 5 pillars of self-awareness? Come back to me with an answer on that and we'll talk more. Young IGG says, what can you tell me about me? I could tell you that you're very honest. And we already talked about agreeableness. Emotionality, I imagine you scored pretty low in sentimentality, if I had to guess. Um, but I think there's a correlation between men scoring lower in emotionality just in general, right? In the E. Extroversion means I don't know what brought your score below a 3, but I imagine that social self-esteem part maybe a little bit lower. Um, Not that you're not outgoing, but you may not be a highly social person, right? That's actually where I score lowest. I score pretty high in extroversion, but not social self-esteem. Is it sociability is one of the facets. I think I score a little bit lower there, and it's weird because I am considered an extrovert, but like if I'm in a room full of people talking about Game of Thrones, I have to feign interest in the White Walkers of the North, and I don't give a crap. But I will acquiesce to what the room's talking about. But I would not, like, if my friends were like, "Yo, we're getting together to have a Game of Thrones party tonight," I'm not going. I don't want to socialize about Game of Thrones. I'm not interested. Um, Kiara Williams says, "Can you talk more about the program? I came in kind of late. I want to be a lash and brow technician. Awesome. So yeah, we help a lot of freelancers and entrepreneurs are the people that we focus on. So I would consider that a freelancer situation. I want to know how you can help me when I join. Also, I suck at sales. Well, we will certainly help you with sales because one of the bonuses you get in the program is a kind of a crash course in sales, and then you get a huge course in marketing. We focus on YouTube and Facebook from the social media perspective, but we talk a lot about the principles of marketing, persuasion, psychology, things like that. And so there's a ton of that extra content there. But really, what we will help you with the most is developing, like you already know that you want to be a lash and brow technician, but we'll help you take the Hexaco test. Um, and will help you better understand yourself so you know how to navigate that space when you work toward becoming a lash and brow technician, right? You'll understand why am I drawn to this. When you go through your personality, you go through understanding your core values and your motivations and what you're actually good at, and then your passion, right? Being a lash and brow technician probably underlies a passion for art. So we're going to help you figure that out. Like, we're not going to tell you what you are and how you need to think. We're going to help you think through the process, think critically about yourself, build the self-awareness. Then we're going to help you tie a purpose to this specific activity that you want to do, so that as you're building towards success, you don't let obstacles, challenges, hindrances, and fatigue stop you from getting to your goal. Like, if you want to be a lash and brow technician, I could probably guess that you have an artistic side to you. You also like helping other people and providing service to other people that makes them feel good about themselves, right? So that's part of your purpose. I imagine you score high in conscientiousness, for example, on the Hexaco test, because you care about giving back to other people, right? And then we're going to give you a lot of practical tools about how to use your mind effectively to get out of limiting beliefs, right? So I have a friend right now who wants to start a food truck, but she's making every excuse in the book about why she can't do it, even though it's her dream and she hates her job, right? So one of the things we're helping her, and she's not in the program, this is just a friend of ours, but one of the things we're helping her with is your problem isn't resources, isn't that you can't get a small business loan, it's that you haven't built it into your mind that I must do this. And until you get to I must do this, you're not going to have that, what we call in the military the intestinal fortitude to really push through the pain and succeed at it, right? So we're going to help you with that. Then we're going to give you some of the tools, some of the practical things you need to understand. For example, there's a course in the program called Are You a Laborer, a Freelancer, or an Entrepreneur? So what that's going to help you with is, I'd say lash and brow technician kind of says freelancer to me. Helps you understand the difference between those three types of things, because one of the things that scares me the most right now is entrepreneurialism is on this huge pedestal and everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, and it's just not true. Like, unless you are a glutton for punishment, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. But being a freelancer is something that a lot of people want to be and have the capability to be. But then I also coach people who are laborers, who want to work for somebody else, don't necessarily want to have that freedom. They just want to have the security, but be really good at what they do. So helping you understand which one of those three you are. And you may be a mixture. Like, using me as an example, I am a mixture between an entrepreneur and a freelancer. And what I really am is a freelancer who's willing to be an entrepreneur in order to let me be the most free freelancer that I can be, right? I just happen to be, good at both, right? So those are the things will help you understand. Our next, actually this Sunday, we have our next live call, and quiet as kept. People who are joining now, we're letting you come on the live calls. I'm not telling anybody about that, but I just said it on YouTube, so that'll probably open the floodgates of people trying to join. We're going to be talking about the 4 Ps, right, of business. So it's, and we also talked about what business are you in. That was a huge part of. So with someone like I asked the question, what business is? Let me see. It's on the board. What business is radio in? And everyone will say, oh, it's in the music business. Like, no, it's in the advertising business. So helping you understand what type of business you're actually in helps you make better decisions and ultimately be more successful more quickly. And then the next session, we're going to talk about mindfulness, which is huge. It's something that I've been learning actually as a part of my mental health journey. And so we're going to help people understand the importance of living in the moment and mindfulness and establishing that gratitude and that joy in the moment, even when you're going through hard times. And we're going to talk about the 4 Ps: product, placement, pricing, and promotion, right? And even if you're not creating a product, even if you're a freelancer giving a service, or even if you work somewhere, how do you present yourself as the product? How do you place yourself, right? Like, where are you selling yourself? Who are you selling your services and your abilities to? How do you price them? And then how do you promote them, right? And then the last real kind of the coup de grace of the whole program is teaching people how to keep going when it gets hard. How to keep going when you're tired, nothing is working, nobody's hiring you, nobody's buying your product. How do you muster up the strength to keep going? You go back to that well of fortitude and find the strength to keep pushing forward. Right? So the greatest value that I've seen, and I've taken a lot of online courses, like you mentioned Ty Lopez earlier. I've been through a good number of his courses, which are good. One of the things I wish was there, and it was part of the reason why I started making courses. And I'm not picking on him; his stuff is quality, but it's we focus so heavily on self-awareness. You don't have self-awareness, you can't make good decisions, which means you can't have sustainable success. And then how does that self-awareness affect all the other stuff you want to do? So that's the core of the program, and it's actually on screen right now. I'm actually on the website where you can request access, and you can see some of the benefits here, and then the features of the program. Ton of bonus content. There's a marketing course, there's a sales course, there's a confidence course, all these things that you'll get in addition to it that we've made available to people for the better part of a year now. Right, so a lot of good stuff in there. Highly recommend it. Obviously, it's mine, but don't take my word for it. You can actually come to the website here. I'll post a link for you so you can see this. Um, you can come to the website here and hear from the folks giving testimonials. We'll have the people are still working on their testimonials because most of these people are still going through the program. But a lot of them, like Steve here, has been with me since way before I started this program. Um, and so he's going to give you an account of what he got out of it. And Tony here, who's a comedian, who actually went through our program and then joined our team because he was so inspired by what we were doing, he wanted to be a part of it. He'll tell you his story, and Alyssa here will as well. Right, so you don't have to take my word for it. You can actually hear from other people, real people, not actors. I even told the people, when you do your testimonies, do not film and edit it like a professional, right? Just be you, because then it's real. It's not like, oh, this is a guy reading a script or whatever. It's just real people telling you about the account. Okay, great question, by the way. I appreciate you asking. Stephen Blanton says, your video froze, LOL. It's just the webcam, though. Yeah, I can live with the webcam. Is that hexacode test on your website? It is in the program, but I'll just give you the website right here. There you go. My webcam, by the way, is the reason why my computer keeps crashing. Need to get a different one, but I'm also going to be getting new computer equipment to replace all this stuff, so it doesn't matter. Young IGG says, ironically, I'm having relationship issues and I'm not very social. There you go, right? So work on your agreeableness. You got the honesty down. So that's not a problem. Like, usually if someone scores low on honesty and they're talking about, I'm an ISFJ, and you're like, dude, you're not an honest person. That's never going to work. I don't care what your personality type is. But you've got the honesty part down. Work on becoming more flexible. Meaning you're not going to override your genetics, right? You're not going to, I am not a sentimental person. No amount of life experience is going to turn me into this highly sensitive, sentimental person. But when I'm with highly sentimental people, I can still just adjust my behavior a little bit so that I can adapt, and it makes them feel more comfortable. It makes me feel more comfortable, and it keeps it going. So flexibility is something that you can work on because you can put yourself in situations where you don't have to be in control, right? And being out of control is uncomfortable. I would recommend getting into healthy, safe situations where you can't control all of the outcomes and just live in that space where you're not in control. And it forces you to become flexible because you start to realize I can't control any of this stuff, right? Like, what helped me with that, because I could have grown to be a very controlling person. I don't think I'd be as flexible as I am had I not been through my military training and combat, because you have no choice because it's not like the enemy lines up the way, like we write this plan and then we rehearse how we're going to do this attack, and then the enemy's like, okay, we're here. We're lined up exactly the way you planned. You have to be able to adjust, right? So working on that flexibility, I think, would go a long way. But then you couple that with that lower emotionality, means if you're with somebody who's really has higher emotionality, they may feel that you're insensitive or cold, or you're not being open with them. Those are things there are behaviors associated with that you can adjust. I'm not telling you to be inauthentic or not be who you are, but when I'm with my mother, for example, I will show more sentimentality and more interest in things that make her feel more appreciated. Right? I don't have to change who I am to do that. I am aware of the things she cares about, and I can adjust. Because my default setting is I don't give a crap. But it's like, no, show some interest. Like, that's okay. It's empathy. All right? You don't have to change who you are to do that. Jean Lee says, "What if your strength slash skill set doesn't match what you want to do in life or what you think you want to do?" Well, I would say there's probably not enough thought put into how you can adapt your skills to what you want to do. So why don't we do this? Why don't you tell me what you're actually good at, and then in that same, tell me what you want to do, and I'll show you how to connect the two. Kara Williams says, "LOL, no, you're spot on. I also draw and do logos." Cool, right? So those are, and that little brief kind of summary of what I was educatedly guessing, and it wasn't really guessing. I've worked with so many people that I can see the patterns, right? It's pattern recognition. We get into a lot more detail. The videos that you would watch in the program, you're gonna watch me go into a lot of detail with people, and you'll be able to see yourself in this person. Like, oh yeah, sweet. And like we even have one woman in the program who thought she wanted one career and was devastated that it wasn't happening. And through my very special brand of pushing her, I had needed to make her a little uncomfortable because I needed her to take action, and she was being very procrastinating and not taking action. So not making her feel bad or tearing her down, but pushing her. And she finally got to the point where, oh, no wonder I'm procrastinating. This isn't actually what I want to do. She figured it out, right? So that's a lot of the value that we add, is just helping people do that. Kira H says, "Hello, Brian and everyone." Hello, Kira H. It's very good to see you. We're in the Q&A portion, so jump in there. Let's see. Kira H says, "I have also been focusing on and developing my practice of mindfulness and gratitude increasingly over the past few months. It has made a huge difference in my mental." Oh, it is. It's like the secret sauce. I'm going to be teaching on it soon, this Sunday. The how mindfulness. You take a person with me who has the resilience of my brain is just like, even my doctors have told me, like, dude, the stuff you've been through and the death you've seen and all the crap that you talk about, the fact that you're not like outside homeless and just talking to yourself in a weird language is crazy. Like, your resilience is off the freaking charts. I say, well, that's, thank God for those genetics. But them teaching me mindfulness, like, yo, it's almost like this separate dimension, and it sounds really weird, but this separate dimension opened up, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a whole world that I've not been aware of all around me. And then you're kind of overwhelmed with gratitude, and man, my life, despite everything I've been through, my life is freaking amazing. Thank God for that, right? So I'm going to be teaching on how to do that and some of the things that I've used to do it. Kiara Williams says, "Thanks for that. I'll be emailing you." Awesome. Glad to hear it. Young IGG says, "B, how do you know my life? My girlfriend tells me I'm unaffectionate all the time." Well, I could lie to you and tell you that I'm some type of psychic Dionne Warwick. I can read the tea leaves and predict everything about people. The truth of the matter is, brother, I've worked with a lot of people for a long time. And you start to notice patterns, right? Like, basically every person has 6 basic human needs. In fact, they're on my whiteboard right now if you can see it. Uh, and when you've worked with, I don't think a lot of people realize that I've worked indirectly with, in terms of like making content for people. The things I've created have reached millions of people, right? But indirectly, like on calls like this, I work with business owners too. Well, I'm not doing that now because I'm focused 100% on my health, but um, meetings every couple of weeks with business owners. I meet with and help so many people that you guys don't see on YouTube. Because a lot of people I'm helping are in real life. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing on YouTube. And when you work with that many people that much, you just start to recognize patterns. I'm able to help a lot of people because I've seen so many things play out over and over and over. And you just took a Hexaco testing. You gave me your scores. I can immediately, because the Hexaco test is way more scientific than say something like the Myers-Briggs, where I can make guesses about you. If you're a INFP, for example, I can guess certain stereotypes about you, but a lot of them aren't going to be true because you're unique, right? And so, like, you go to like a website like 16 Personalities, and they tell you this story about yourself with the cute little graphics. Oh yeah, that's me. But it doesn't get into like the nitty gritty of what makes you tick. Right? The Myers Briggs is good at showing you how you how you process information and how you make decisions. But outside of that, it's kind of squishy. With the Hexaco, you just gave me a bunch of scientific data that I've seen God knows how many times in people that I've coached, and I know the patterns. Right? It's very much you scored 3.6 in honesty and humility. Cool, right? You're very honest, right? Or at least you're above average in honesty. Um, but when you score 2 in emotionality, I know you're below the mean, and I'm gonna, knowing the 4 facets of emotionality, and you're a man, right? Like I can make some assumptions about you as a man that you're probably low in sentimentality. It's correlated with being a man, right? So there's a lot of patterns that I'm able to pick up on from study, from reading, but also working with. I don't know how many thousands of people I've worked with over the course of my life since I've been doing this type of work, which I've been doing this type of work since I was 19. Yeah, I think 19, maybe younger. I've been doing this type of working with people, right? So it's just pattern recognition, man. It's not magic. I'd love to say that it is because I could sell. Like I talk about, I want 1 million people to go through my course because I think it's like in my back of my head, if like 1 million people would just go through this course, we could fundamentally change the way people think about themselves and approach life, and you'd increase happiness, you'd increase productivity, like all these things would start to improve because all this crap they never taught you in school, you're going to get it, and it's I'd love to say, yeah, I'm a magician, like I'm a prophet, because then 1 million people are like, yo, it's him, it's the guy that predicted my whole life. But it's literally just experience, man. Great question. All right. And I know you were just joking around, but I wanted to take an opportunity to give you an honest answer. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? Like I got through everybody, or did my stream completely freeze up? Okay. Nope. Stream looks good. All right. Let's go back to here. Is it Jean Lee or Jean Lee? Please correct me. I want to make sure I say everybody's names right. And I'm gonna break this chair if it doesn't start acting right. There we go. Uh, Still not right. I've had this chair way too long. It's time for a new chair, yo. All right. Jean or Jean Lee says, I have really high emotional intelligence. I'm really good at caring for people, but I also wanted to be an artist. But I don't have experience in art. Uh, Emotional intelligence is good for it, but okay, I'll wait for you. It looks like YouTube cut you off. So I will wait for you to finish that question. Anybody else want to chime in with questions, please go ahead. I kind of know where Gene is going with this, but I don't want to jump in until I've seen the full comment. Let me just read what they wrote again. I have really high emotional intelligence. Oh, you're answering my question. I'm sorry. You have high emotional intelligence, okay, and you're really good at caring for people. But I also wanted to be an artist, uh, but I don't have experience in art. But you can change that, right? We can get you experience in art. Uh, IK, emotional intelligence, is good for it. But all right, so going back to, you have a skill set, but you have a thing that you want to do. I mean, aren't there courses that people teach about how to use art as like emotional therapy, right? So there's what you're missing is like what you want to do. Emotional intelligence can absolutely play into you being an artist, right? Because let's say the art that you created was songwriting. Well, with a strong, and I know you're probably talking about like illustration and physical art, but let's just say it's music, for example, just to make the point to you that your ability to mesh these two things together is not as far away or as impossible as you may be thinking it is. If you had a ton of emotional intelligence and you were a musician, you'd be able to write songs from the perspective of your listeners. And that's the people that make Ed Sheeran, for example. My wife and I had lunch together today in the place we had lunch at um, after I had, my medical appointments and stuff this morning. My wife and I had lunch together, and it was okay. Ed Sheeran was playing at this place we were eating. I don't really like I don't dislike it. I'm like, I hate this guy. It's just like when I hear his music, I don't have an emotional connection to it. But I listen to words, right? Because I've been a songwriter before. And I'm like, this song, of course, this song connects with all these people because what he's saying is exactly what all of these people are feeling, right? Now, I'm older. I've been married a long time. I don't really get that kind of feeling anymore. That's kind of that butterfly early dating stage stuff that he talks about that younger people can relate to. Like when he talks about people, I think it's people fall in love in mysterious ways. Yeah, people can totally relate to what this guy is saying, which makes him relatable, which makes people like him, which makes people want to listen. Now, where I fall off is the musicality is not something that really, like, melody is the key. Melody and what's being said in a song is how I emotionally connect, and neither of those is very strong for me the way he produces music. No disrespect, I think the dude is a beast. I'm just giving you an example. The point is, I bet you he has high emotional intelligence because he's able to craft music, or at least the people who are writing his music, if it's not him, is able to craft music that millions, if not billions, of people can relate to. Same thing, right? You can create art, like if it's illustration or it's painting, whatever your brand of art is, you can go learn the skill. Dude, you can, or lady, I don't know which one, you can go on YouTube and watch 100 hours of video and practice and get good at the art. But what's going to make you a good artist is that in a piece of art, the purpose of art is to get the consumer of the art to feel something. And you could present your art in a way that creates that emotional response because you have the emotional intelligence. You're able to feel what other people feel. I bet you get into a room full of people and you can just by the way someone looks at you when they talk or the way they look, you can pick up on, oh, this person's frustrated or this person's sad or like you're able to, I hear people say, oh, I'm an empath. Like, no, you just have high emotional intelligence, right? And you can intuitively through pattern recognition pick up on what people are feeling, right? Some people call that reading people, right? So it's very much, you can totally apply that to art. What you may be lacking is just the 10,000 hours of doing art. So guess what? You know what you want to do. You now know how your specific skill ties into it. Now get out there and go make it happen. All right, get out there and learn it. Young IGG says, thanks for the advice, B. What we're here for, brother. Kira H says, yes, art therapy. Yeah, we're art therapy. Totally. So it just, it sounds to me like you just need some more tools in your toolkit and then you're off to the race. All right, what other questions do you guys have? I'm going to, in the meantime, while you guys are coming up with questions, check. I got a message from one of my students. Yeah, like as you guys are talking with me, I'm also getting messages from my students. I'm trying to keep up with them as well. And I want to make sure the answers that I'm giving are the right answers. For example, All right, so I can close that. All right, gang. What other questions do you have? Let's get it going. Because if not, if you guys are done, because I'm done with my part. I have said all I need to say, at least for tonight. Um, I have another stream. I don't know how many of these I'm gonna do before we transition to Twitch, but I cannot stress enough, gang. You gotta do this. You gotta do it. I don't care if you don't have an account. Go make one. Uh, get a Twitch account, and for the love of all that's holy, follow me on Twitch. Because when I start doing my podcast on there, you're going to be able to send questions into the show. You're going to be able to watch it live. You're going to be able to, these types of videos that I'm doing, I am moving to Twitch. And then everything that comes onto YouTube is just going to come here after the fact. So I can't stress that enough. Um, but I have another topic I do want to cover here. And I want to give everybody time to make that transition, right? Because there's only like 100 of you. Out of about the 1,200 of you that watch, that pay attention to me, like I know I have tens of thousands of subscribers, but only about 1,200 care, and keep up with what I'm doing. Um, Only about 100 have gone over to Twitch, and I get it's another account you got to set up, but it takes like 30 seconds. But what it's going to allow you to do is see the podcast live while I'm filming it. Type in questions because I'm going to be watching the feed while I'm talking. Of course, I won't be answering questions. We'll probably have a segment of the show where we do that so as to not disturb the show. Um, and it just makes more sense. Twitch just makes it so much easier to make that connection than YouTube does. Um, YouTube's never, for whatever reason, even back when I was talking to the engineers, like, why are you guys not pushing your live play? And maybe it's because that's not their goal is to have live blow up. Like it's just an added bonus. Kiera says, "Do you have specific air times?" I don't yet. Right now, I just kind of when I do my Twitch, like my gaming hangout streams, like they're just kind of fun. We hang out, we talk. Sometimes people come with topics though. I had this one woman that follows me on Twitch who's awesome. She's an educator, and she asked me this really tough question about the education system. So I am playing a video game, and we're having this very deep philosophical discussion about the education system. And it was great. Like everyone was chiming in and had a lot of really good insight. So sometimes it goes to that. Sometimes it's just hanging out and chatting. Like last night, it was me and a friend from actually it's one of the people in our coaching program came and hung out with me, and we just talked. And they were helping me because it was a game that they've played and finished. So they were helping me not suck at it. So it's fun. Right now, we don't have specific air times. I just do it whenever I've got time. But there will come a time where we do publish a show schedule. I can tell you when we do get back into shooting the podcast, it will one of the shows will be Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That much I can tell you. It's pretty much the time may adjust, but Sundays is when we're going to shoot that, and it's going to be in the evenings because two of my co-hosts live on the West Coast, so I want to give them time to go to church. Because one of them was like, "Yo, I definitely want to be on the show, but I got church." I said, "Dude, we'll do it 6 p.m. our times, 3 p.m. your time. It's time to go to church, get something to eat, come home, relax, do your thing." All right, let's see. Cura H says, Gene Lee, there are so many ways you can express yourself and communicate your feelings through art. I know you can find one that fits. Don't give up. You don't have to be Picasso to reach other. That is, wow. That is great advice right there. Adam Tabor says, I really enjoy these videos. Excited to see what you do next. Yeah, so these videos will continue on Twitch. I'll do a couple more on YouTube just to make sure everybody understands that what I'm doing right now on YouTube is not going to last forever. I'm doing it because I want to reach the 1,200 that actually watch what I'm doing to let you know to jump over to Twitch. Also to let people know this program is coming out, but if you jump on it now, you get this great, like it's already going to be discounted when it launches, but if you jump in now, then you get an even heftier discount, right? So I want people to know this program's freaking awesome. And I mean, we stand by it with a money back guarantee, right? So we take all the risk out for people. Like if you get in there, it's like, or if your house burns down. Because I've had people, well, their houses haven't burned down, but I've had people like they get in and they love it, but it's like some financial thing goes down as long as they hit me up within 30 days. And I think one person hit me up 31 days, and I wasn't going to be like, well, technically it's only a 30-day guarantee. Like, no, they had issues, right? And that's rare, very rare. Out of the hundreds of people we work with, I think three people we've had to do a refund, and one of them, I was the one that chose to give the refund because they just weren't a good fit for the program. Um, but it's like this thing is amazing, and I want to help more people, so I'm getting the word out about it. Let's see. Jimmy Reagan says, "What's your take on the One Thing concept by Gary Keller?" It's one of the books I teach out of. It's awesome, and it's accurate. One of the key points in that book is he talks about people spend too much time trying to balance their lives instead of counterbalancing their lives, which is what they should be doing. Which is interesting and hilarious because coincidentally, people counterbalance in politics when they should be trying to balance. Like the one place people are good at counterbalancing is politics, which is where you shouldn't be counterbalancing. You should be balancing. Every other area of their life they try to balance and it just doesn't work. Um, yeah, I think Gary Keller knocked it out of the park. In fact, I think that's one of the required reading books in our program. And I teach people, well, Gary teaches you how to read the book. I don't have to teach people. But for people who don't have a ton of time, Gary's like, you don't have to read every word of this book. Just pay attention to these pieces. So, yeah, I was actually on a coaching call with Ty Lopez had brought him on to do a coaching call back in the day. That was really good. That was actually what made me buy the book, was listening to Gary teach. All right. Any other questions? But yeah, my take is live by it. It's the right answer. Huh. Instagram video didn't kill it today like the other ones did. That's the way it goes sometimes. All right. 30 seconds, guys. What are your last minute questions? Remember, it doesn't have to be about what we talked about tonight. It could be any challenge you were facing in your life. Doesn't matter. All right. Have I answered everybody's questions? If I have, I'm about to dip. Kira Williams says, "You've answered all mine so far. Thanks for all you're doing." It is my pleasure, Kira. I'm glad to have you here tonight. I'm glad you found us. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep in touch with you and be able to continue to serve you more. I hope to see you over in the program too. I very much look forward to helping you get to the goals that you're trying to reach and beyond. One of the things I really talk to people about is, set your goals for now, but at some point, you work with us, you're going to reach them. You're thinking about what's that next thing? What am I going to do once I get there? We tell you, how to continually be setting goals. Not trying to live in the future and miss the moment, but really think about, because what people don't understand about reaching a goal is that it's usually not quite as exciting as we think it's going to be. Like it can be exciting for a while, and then it's okay. What do I do now? Right. So we start preparing folks for that. Alyssa, I have one. Wait. Okay, I'll wait. I will wait. Adam Tabor says, "Got to go back and look at the pillars you told me about." Yep, you do. Yes, you do, man. Okay. Wow, nobody was pissed off about the comment I left on YouTube today. That's cool. Means I'm reaching the target audience. Figured at least one person would be offended. Almost disappointing. Not that I'm intentionally trying to offend people. I just understand how people work. All right, Alyssa says, "You know my current ambitions. Do you have advice in making sure my fear isn't paralyzing me? I've been struggling with this the last few weeks as reality sets in, uh, as to just how big it can be." One of the things, and that's an amazing question, right? Because you've been through the part of our course. I think you've been through the part of the course where we talk about how to overcome fear for error. I know I talked about it in the 69 pillars, but you'll see it too, because I don't know if I covered it in the Good Life Playbook, but in the private entrepreneur program, we actually have a module where we talk about in depth how to overcome fear. So you will be getting access to that as soon as we get everything set up on the website. But the main thing for you, Alyssa, and this may be tough based on your current situation and your circles and knowing your situation. I think the main thing for you is you need what we call, or at least I'd recommend, because you can totally succeed without this, but this is something that I would really recommend for you. I recommend you get what we in the military call a battle buddy, someone that you really trust, someone that really has your back and that you can share with when you're hurting, when you're struggling, when you're having a hard time, when you're facing some of the things that I know you face, that I know are hard, some of the stuff that I share some of those challenges, certainly to different degrees, but I can by all means empathize. Having my business partner is also a man that I consider a brother, right? This is a dude who I would gladly let take care of my children, right? With no, like, if I had to go do something, like, yo, dude, I need you to come take care of my kids, and I would just leave. I wouldn't have to give him like instructions. This is a man who I trust with my life. All right. The only thing we haven't done together is fight in an actual war, and I would trust this man with my life. And so having him in my corner is part of the reason why I've been able to start this health journey that I'm on. He was one of the main people that was like, dude, enough. Like, take your hands off the wheel, go see the doctor, go start getting squared away, get some freaking rest, and stop trying to save the world while you are falling apart. Well, not falling apart, but while you are in pain and hurting your health in the process. Right. So having him as my battle buddy, walk, and he's my spiritual brother. Like, this dude is in there, right? I would not be where I'm at now with, like, there's things that have happened in the business that had it not been for him, me being in the car with him when certain things went down, right? And I won't go into all the details because some of it's private to our business, but there's some things, good things that went down, and I freaked out, and I'm in the car with him, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna do this, and he was like, No, you're not gonna do this. That's not a. You need to do this, 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 and this. And I said, but he's like, all right, man, if you don't want to listen to me, and you want to short yourself, and so I shut up, and even though I was hesitant, and the problem was I was afraid of rejection, something he does not struggle with the way that I do. I was so afraid to do what he was telling me to do. I was just so terrified of losing something good and being rejected. He's like, dude, no. Like, this wouldn't, it's like God would not have set this up to just let you get rejected. And he's like, this is the way I would do it if I was you. I'm like, all right. So I sucked it up and trembling started doing the stuff he was telling me to do. And I did it, and it came back 100,000 times better than I thought it possibly could have. And I'm like, oh my God, if it wasn't for this dude, oh my God, if it wasn't for him, none of this would be, I won't say none of it would be happening because, God's grace is amazing. But if it wasn't for Him, so much of the good that's happening in my life right now would be very different. If I didn't have Him, I would have made a very, not bad, but I would have made a decision that completely shorted myself and then thus shorted my team, right? We have opportunities now because of stuff my business partner talked me off the, like, I was having an anxiety attack basically, and he was just like, nope, you need to do this, and this. I'm like, but he's like, there are no but. He's like, fine, if you don't want to listen to me, bro, fine, come up short. And I'm like, all right, this is a dude, he's like a big brother to me. He's older than me. He's lived more life than me. He can see into my life in ways that I can't, right? And that's kind of what our coaching program is for. Like, I can look into y'all's lives in a way that you can't, because you're not, because you don't have the smarts. It's because you're in the trenches fighting the battle, and I'm out here in the woods just watching it. I can't stress enough that I think what will help you most is having a person like that in your life. Having someone that can talk you off the ledge when you're struggling, right? Because you and I share some of the same challenges to differing degrees. But the principle is, because I have someone in my life that can talk me off the ledge when I'm about to sabotage myself because I'm afraid of rejection. He can remind me that there is nothing that's going to reject you, man. Like, it's going to be all right. Just do what you know. Because he's like, I know you know what I'm saying is right. You're just afraid. And I really recommend that you have somebody in your physical camp who can help you with that. And I know sometimes it's hard to find those people, um, but I don't know any business that's ultimately been crazily successful without somebody in their camp. Like, if you look at Tony Robbins, he had Jim Rohn, right? And a host of other people that have helped him over the years. And Tony Robbins is in the vein of what I know you want to do. And that's the best piece of advice that I can give you. Get someone who is strong where you are weak to help you when you're in those moments of struggle. All right, let's see. Alyssa says, I've been looking for one. It's harder to find than one thinks. Oh, yeah, believe me, I know. I would consider my sister, but it seems everything I say gets back to my mother, which is a challenging relationship. Absolutely. So maybe not your sister, right? I've been trying to find someone outside of the family, but I find it tough to find someone. I've tried looking at church with no luck. So, but keep in mind, you are a part of our program, right? You're a part of the Good Life Playbook, which means you have, and even though I know it's digital, you have access to the private Facebook group, but there's a lot of other people who are working to do very similar things that you're doing. And I'm not saying you need to go out and make one of them your business partner. I'm just saying you can share with the group when you're having a challenge. Um, and they can encourage, because what it really is you just need encouragement. You need someone to just kind of give you a hug and say, look, it's going to be all right. No matter how this plays out, as long as you keep showing up to the plate, you're eventually going to get the hit. Just keep showing up to the plate. It's going to be all right. Yeah, you're going to go through some tough times. Yeah, you're going to go through some challenges and some failures. You just keep showing up to the plate, man. Somehow, some way, it's going to work out. It's going to be all right. So you've got the group. You also have you have all my information. If it gets into that fever pitch where you just need someone to encourage you, shoot me a message, right? Until now, I will say you need someone physically in your life, right? Like, I would not be able to necessarily be that for you to the degree that my business partner is able to do for me. But that at least gets you over the hump, having us as your, like, treat the group like your support team, right? Um, we can at least get you over the hump until you do find that person. So that way you're not like manically searching for someone, right? You've got people out there that do have your back. Let's see. But yeah, no, I totally understand. And I can tell you a lot of my most recent success comes from the fact that I've had this man in my camp for the last 10 years, right? Him coming into my camp right when I was starting to get serious about the business. He's just walked me through so many things that without him, Not to say I wouldn't have been able to do it, but it would have been a lot harder. A lot harder to do. And just he's got these interesting perspectives that, wow, this dude's really helping me. Like he helped me develop more empathy for folks, right? Like I was just a hard charging. Listen, this is what it is. You need to get up, do some push-ups, and let's go. He's like, dude, you can't. Not everybody's gonna respond to that. And I was like, yeah, I got you. Right. So yeah, I would just use the group for now if that's what you got. Um, but just be on the lookout, and you don't need to be feverishly trying to find someone. It'll The more you communicate about your vision to people that you can trust, like at your church, inevitably someone's going to come along that is so into the vision that you have that they're going to be willing to have your back and support you. And don't get me wrong, like my business partner, I've done tons of things to help this guy, right? It's not like it's this one-sided relationship. It's just he's he's been there in ways that nobody else really could have done in that unique way. So, and that's an awesome question. And I'm glad you asked it. Um, but yeah, for now, stick close to the group. I've been down the road that you're working to go down. So there's probably a lot of practical things you can ask me. Like even after we finish the live stuff, you can still send me messages. You can still send stuff to the group. You know, I live by a creed that one of the creeds we have as soldiers is that we never leave behind a fallen comrade. All right, and that's just something that I live by. If I know someone's struggling and I have the means to help you, it's just the way it's got to be. Let's see. Alyssa says, I have overcome things more challenging than this alone, but it was exhausting, and I do not want to hit burnout on my dream. Yeah, so the other thing is just one day at a time. Don't try to make, don't try to be Tony Robbins or, Joyce Meyer tomorrow, right? Just one day at a time. Like the Gary Keller principle, that, who brought that up? Who brought up the Gary Keller principle? Jimmy brought up the Gary, like, live by that Gary Keller principle that just one thing I got to do today that's the most important thing towards the dream so that you don't get to burnout, right? Like you don't have to be there tomorrow, right? You've got the means to support yourself and stuff like that. So it's just one step at a time. One important thing today that you got to check off the list, right? Like for me right now, my most important things, like if I don't get to one of these calls, oh well, my number one important thing right now is my health. Because if I'm not healthy, I can't help you guys, right? So I have had the full court press on my health for 2 months now. I got a long way to go, but it's good, right? So that's the main focus, and then anything else I get to do after that is icing on the cake. So yeah, just lean on us when you need that. But the key here is, yes, you've overcome things more tough than this, but don't try to overcome everything. Don't try to slay the dragon tonight. Like cut a fingernail off today, cut an arm off tomorrow, right? Chop the dragon up into small pieces. Cool. And I noticed nobody else had questions while I was answering that. So, anything else I could do for you, Alyssa, or anybody else? I'll give you guys another 30 seconds to chime in, and then I'm going to go check on my wife. Because I know she's got some work for me to do. And then we need to go to bed. It's late. Uh, there will be at least one more stream. I'm not going to tell you the title of it because it's going to be hilarious. It's going to be women, ladies, I want you to be there, especially when you see the title. But this one's going to be directed at the men. But ladies, your perspective on this next live stream is going to be invaluable. Uh, when you see the title, you will understand why. Oh man, that was a great comment. Why did YouTube? Oh, because she cussed. Listen says you can't kill the dragon; it's immortal. I plan to make it my bitch. Even better. Even better. On that note, friends, I'm gonna get up out of here, go check on my wife. Um, I don't think I'll do a Twitch stream tonight because it's already late, and I know my wife's got work for me to do, trying to clean out our basement. Um, I will probably be back tomorrow with a stream. I think I want to say my doctor stuff tomorrow is in the evening though, so I have to work around that. And it's our kids' spring break, so we're trying to take care of them too. But I have at least one more stream in my heart. And men, you better come prepared for this one because I'm about to call you out. Ladies, I'd love for you to be there so you can help me call them out. And the funny thing is, I want the ladies to be there because you'll be able to tell stories of your experiences with what I'm going to be talking about. Um, and this is something that actually came out of I had a therapy session, and there were other people there, and I said something, and one of the women was like, "I've never heard a man use that term for another man before." I'm like, yeah. Sadly, I use it. Well, not sadly, I guess. Interestingly enough, I use it more. I use it only for men. I don't think I've ever used it for women. But anyway, that's what's going on, y'all. Let me get up out of here. I love you all much. Again, if you are interested in getting into the Good Life Playbook, a lot of what we're doing here tonight, we do there, but it's tailored to you. A lot of these answers that I'm giving people are based on a comment that they're writing, and I'm trying to interpret everything. In this program, you get to watch me walk people through these questions and then get to have them follow up with actual, them talking to me. You get to hear the voices. You get to see me actually work with these people. And what you start to find out is that I'm only the catalyst. Like it's you who's doing the work. I'm just the enabler, right? You call it coaching, but what it really is steering. It's all of it is already inside of you. I'm just going to show you how to tap into it, deep into the well of your soul, where you can find all that strength, do what it is you're trying to do because it's there and I know you can do it. And I'm that voice over your shoulder saying, you got this, right? Don't worry about nothing. You got this, right? And that's really, the heart and soul of why, I started this program because I hated 99% of the courses that were online were garbage. Um, or they were overpriced. All of them are overpriced, by the way, except ours. But and then it was, but they're also not teaching these core principles that have to be taught if any of this stuff is going to work, right? And then a lot of them weren't going into the level of detail. Like, guys, we got to be like, I get it. You can flash a bunch of bikini models and you flying in a helicopter and you can sell something to somebody, but we got to be better than that. Um, Kira H says, thank you so much, Bryant. Take good care. Good night, everyone. Yeah, y'all take care too. So here's the link to the website. If nothing else, just, hit the request, get the email from me. We can talk about it. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the program because, like I said, my goal is to get and no matter how long it takes, my goal is to get 1 million people through this program. Because what a lot of people don't know is I'm building other programs behind the scenes right now. Actually, I'm not doing anything right now because I'm focused on my health. But what's coming is legit like college level courses that are going to take people from here to here. And it's all based upon, like, if you go through this, you are getting the core of what's going to give birth to all these other things that we're building, but you would have gone through this, right? And then I transition next year into doing live seminars with people. So I won't be online. I'll actually be in a neighborhood near you doing our thing. But anyway, friends, it is always, always a pleasure to hang out with you. I'm so glad you came out. Thanks for giving me your time. I know it's late. I'm going to let you guys and me get some rest. I love you all much. Remember always, always that we are stronger than I, and I will see you soon.